Okay, I think we're live, and it looks like I've got some people in here. How's it going, everybody? Let's see here. I want to pop out the chat so I don't have to keep toggling between my stream software. Looks good. Who do we have in here? I see John Dillon, Todd Elston, Warren, Roopster, Tristan, Bang Time, AJ. How are we all doing? First and foremost, please tell me, how does the audio sound now? I'm hoping that it sounds much clearer, pretty much as close to as my YouTube videos as possible, now that I've got this new headset here. This is the same headset that I was using during my last two matches of the virtual tournament. It's a little choppy. The audio is a little choppy, or is the stream a little choppy? It's better now. Okay. Try to leave it at that. Because I think at this point it's going to be getting to the point to where I like toggle some of the software a little bit just to try to get it as crisp as possible. But after I go listen to the stream when this is over, then I'll decide how I want it to be. How are we all doing? Like, if this is the first time I am seeing everybody, Happy New Year. Eric Pool Guy Simpson 29, my opponent that was in the finals. How are you doing? Yes, it was a great time playing, man. I had an awesome time too. You're saying the audio is a little choppy. How about now? I went ahead and turned off one of the filters because when I'm on Bang Time's stream, there is no filters that my mic is running through. But can y'all hear me loud and clear now? Not choppy or anything? Okay, cool. So maybe we'll just run with this. I'll have to see how the. So what y'all think of that tournament, huh? Especially the finals between me and Eric. Like what I don't think I could have performed any better under the conditions. As well as Eric, Eric played his butt off. Average was a crazy tournament. The audio really. Let's see if I need to move something here. I'm gonna try to remove the transceiver to my front pocket instead of my back pocket. I had it in my back pocket during Bang Time stream, and it seemed to do just fine. Oh, you know what? I bet I know why the audio is going in and out. 1 second. The audio is probably going to cut out here in a minute, and then I'm going to try to restore it. 1 second. Testing, testing. What about now? Yeah, I'm just like Ron Johnson trying to figure out all the technical difficulties that I'm having here. Okay, hopefully it sounds good. Hopefully it doesn't cut out. The reason I think it was cutting out is because I actually have a few USB devices plugged into a hub, and one of the USB devices is the receiver that plugs into this hub. Now I've actually got it plugged completely into my laptop by itself. So hopefully that helps the audio. Okay, cool. So hopefully it doesn't get choppy or muffled up after that. So bit of a rough start. I'm gonna try to still move my transceiver to my back pocket instead of my front pocket. Yeah, Monkeyzaki, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I want the audio to pretty much just sound like my talking voice, and at the very least, I don't want to sound like echoey or like, you know, I think my buddy Robin Barnes says I sound like I'm in a space station or something like that. There's Ron Johnson. I don't know if you missed all the technical difficulties I had trying to make sure that my headset would work with the my stream environment, because it works fine in Bangtime's stream environment. All right, cool. So I think actually, you know what? I'm only curious. I'm going to turn a filter on, and I'm curious if it's going to have any effect. So I have a filter on now. I guess we'll let some time go by as I talk and try to answer some questions and stuff and see if it changes anything. All right, so let's see here. I want to go back to the beginning. There was a question from Warren. He wants to know, well, first he congratulates me on the win, so thank you for that. He wants to know about what I thought about in one of my games where I guess I had the 8-ball was blocking a pocket to where I ended up taking ball in hand instead of shooting a 1-8 combination. Simply put, there was another match. I think it was in my semifinal match on the winner's side where I think I was on the last rack and I broke and I had a 1-5 combination that I could have done. But you can hear me clearly state during the stream, like, I wish my cue ball was a little bit straighter in order to take on the combination, because otherwise I probably would have in order to try to finish the rack off with an 11. And that's pretty much going to be my same answer. I would think that, you know, obviously if it was a, you know, real match, I can't take ball in hand, so more than likely I would take the 1-8 combination. But in a virtual match like this, or just in a match where I'm playing the ghost and I have the option to take ball in hand and I want to be able to win the rack, that would be the reason why I chose to take ball in hand instead of taking the combination. Oh, cool. There's no difference with the filter on. The filter is supposed to help with the pool balls, to help keep the smashing sound of the break and stuff to be not as loud during when I'm actually playing. So this is cool. I can't wait to actually listen to this when this is over, to know how the audio actually sounds. Because like I said, this is just a different headset. It's similar to the one that I wear during my YouTube videos, but that one has its own transceiver, receiver, or transmitter and receiver, which speaks via Bluetooth, but it at least talks to its own device rather than trying to talk to a computer directly. And I end up plugging the receiver into my digital recorder because I record my audio separate from my videos and then splice them or sync them together when I do the video editing software. So this is kind of the same thing, but with different equipment. Bob Kemp, congratulations on winning the Magic Rack. Hopefully between that Magic Rack and seeing some of the virtual tournaments, you'll be able to figure out how to, or you probably, I shouldn't have said that, you probably already know how to, but at least how to control the break as much as you saw me and a couple of other players in the tournament control the break, at least for 9-ball. All right, so not really seeing any questions. So I figured the first thing I'm going to do is this. And that is teach everybody the break. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all are probably interested in knowing what it is that I was doing. Because I think if you overheard Sean Bell when we were playing our match, he thought it was a draw break, where you're actually applying below center on the cue ball. And that's not true, because what I'll show you right now is if I were to hit this cue ball with below center with this type of rack, or any type of rack for that matter, you're going to see exactly what Sean got. And I won't even hit him as hard as Sean did. Right? He says his cue ball just flies straight back, and that's exactly what you should be expecting. Now, it's probably not a bad idea. I probably could be able to run out from here, except you can see that I have a 2-6 combination clutter here, so it's not the most idealistic break that you'd want to do. But if you've seen any of my playing the ghost videos in like 8-ball or 10-ball, you should have heard me explain to you about how the weight of the rack by itself automatically pushes the cue ball backwards. And what you really want to do is you want to be able to fight against that with some amount of topspin, but you don't want to put too much topspin on the cue ball, because then you end up getting a result that looks like this. So you saw what the bottom spin effect will do. This is what a top spin effect will do. Right, and the cue ball pushes forward. So still not a bad break. I have a long shot on the one ball, but it's not like anything that you guys and gals, if there's any gals in my chat, saw that I was doing during the tournament. So the best way I know how to explain this is that I'm not really doing a center ball hit either, but I do have just a touch of topspin on the cue ball. Now, hopefully I'll be able to replicate this on the first try. Otherwise, I'll do it a couple of times just to see if we get the breakdown. And on my 8-foot table, you've already seen that it doesn't take that hard of a hit. So all I'm really doing here is a center cue ball hit. And I'm always going to be trying to hit the one ball fairly square, and then I just give myself I'm not talking about like a really smidget of topspin. And as long as the power is correct, the weight of the rack is going to push the cue ball back. And what I'm hoping for is that the cue ball will actually have like maybe 1 or 2 revolutions of forward roll before it strikes the rack, because that's what's going to help halt the cue ball right here. Now, a couple of times you saw where my cue ball was heading off over here, and that's because I wasn't hitting the one ball as square as I could. But if I hit that one ball the way I want to, then my cue ball should be pretty much right here, and then I have that shot on the one ball that y'all saw. So, well, not exactly. So I have my position on the one ball, and this is something I could try to run out, but let's see if I can do a better break than that. Because like I said, since my cue ball goes off to one side, that shows me that I did not hit the one ball as square as I could. So I have to try to hit it fuller than I did. And then afterwards, like once you start getting the results that you're looking for, or that I'm trying to look for, then it's a matter of just toggling the power, because you do want to be able to make sure that you're working. And in my case, I'm trying to satisfy the 3-point. I'm always gonna, more times than not, I shouldn't say always, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to drop the wing ball into the corner pocket. So then my next objective is to get 2 balls past the head string, because that'll satisfy the 3-point rule, which means the one ball should be back here. And usually, it didn't happen a lot during my match with Eric, but the 2 ball should be down here as well. And that's what will satisfy the 3-point rule. Let's try this again. So I need to get a square hit or a fuller hit on the one ball. Must have had some bottom spin on that, because that's the only way the cue ball comes straight back if I do that. So I probably means that I moved at the last second instead of, or I dipped my cue down at the last second instead of hitting it straight through. Let's try one more time. Third time's the charm. Make sure the rack is straight too, I just noticed. I do have a line that runs from my foot spot straight down so that I can make sure that my magic rack is perfectly lined up when I do rack these. Let's try this again. There we go. But I'm probably not going to satisfy the 3-point rule, but that's the break that I'm really looking for, is that right there. Neither the 1 or the 8 ball made it, but this is a break that basically satisfies bang time's rules. So now that I've done that, I will try one more at least to try to satisfy the 3-point rule. Okay, so now I'm going to try to do the same thing, but add just a little bit more power. And of course, if I overdo it, then the 1 ball is going to hit up back here to the head rail, which is what I don't want, because then I'm going to take ball in hand after that. Okay, there's the 2 ball, maybe even the 5 ball. There we go. There's the break right there. I've got shape on the 1 ball, and I've got the 5 and the 2 ball past the head string, so I satisfied the 3-point rule. So, like I told Eric, this is a 2-way streak. You know, I have to be able to break, and I have to be able to run out. So let's see if I can run out. I don't even think I got position on the 2. No, I did. I just don't like this position. So my target is to get back here for position on the 3. So I'm going to make it hit this rail and with some amount of right spin, try to get position on the 3. Looks like I have about a tip's worth. And don't worry, I have another perspective I'm going to give y'all later. Did I overhit that? I did. I overhit it. Oh well. The main point was to demonstrate the break. So let's set this back up, and then we'll talk to y'all for a bit. So hopefully, with that bit of information, y'all can take it back to your tables, practice up a little bit, and of course, replicate it. That's basically the whole point. Y'all know I like to teach. I'm not here to keep all the secrets to myself. All right, so let's try this. Because hopefully y'all don't have to ever hit the buzzard on me tonight, because I'm going to try to be very diligent on switching stuff. Let's see here. Oh, crap. I just sat down to a $24.99 super chat from Roopster760. Congratulations on the win, Chris. I would like to know more about your mental game. What goes through your mind after having a bad rack? You always say your nerves go away after you have a bad rack. Congrats. First of all, thank you so freaking much for a $24.99 super chat. With regards to when I said that my nerves go away when I have a bad rack, that only applies to the Bang Time virtual environment. You know, when playing in that tournament, I mentioned before, like on my very, very first match, on how like there's I'm putting more pressure on myself than I truly think I need to, because I'm this, supposed hotshot YouTuber with my followers and stuff, and with all my videos and you see what I do in my APA matches. There's this really, really high expectation on what y'all think I'm going to do in this tournament. And the pressure that I'm putting on myself is to meet that expectation, though I believe it to be very much higher than my own expectation. Because, I don't like to boast about myself. I don't even really call myself a good player in comparison to what's really out there. And I'm not even just talking about professional players, because I don't compare myself to professional players. I know players in my area, and then, within a 3 or 4 mile radius of me, that are just so much better than I am. So that's why I don't really call myself a good player. But in Bang Times events, like, once I started to get more comfortable in playing in front of everybody, especially when I started doing my own live streams and I make mistakes and stuff, it allows me to just settle into myself and really allow y'all to see that I am human. I do make mistakes, and now I don't have to worry about trying to play to a higher expectation that actually doesn't exist. Because once y'all get to see me play, then I would think the expectations start to become more reasonable, or at least I believe them to become more reasonable, and then I'm just comfortable at that, with the exception of I'm playing in competition, which always has nerves. So in Bang Times tournament, whenever I just totally screwed up a rack, like where I only score 2 points or 3 points, then like I go into this I don't give a crap mode. And a lot of my APA teammates know and understand that, or maybe some of y'all can relate too, that once I go into that mode, then the nerves are just completely gone, and I can just stay focused and just actually play. Now, how does that work like in a real match, like when you're actually playing against somebody? Because if you're getting broke and ran on, it's not like you're having bad racks, right? So that's why I said that statement of when I have a bad rack, then my nerves are gone, only applies to Bang Times environment. There are other times to where, like, I'll lose because I'm trying to play a safety, and I end up finding out it's not a good enough safety, because my opponent not only gets out of it, but either gets lucky or purposely hooks me twice as bad, and I can't get out of theirs, and they take ball in hand, or they just get out of it completely and run the table. When stuff like that happens to me, well, it's like, that's really where you can say it is what it is. Like, I made the right choice. I tried to be conservative in the play and play defensive, but it wasn't good enough. So there's nothing I can do, because I would rather lose a rack that way than to go for a Hail Mary shot or a shot that I shouldn't be going for, miss, and then I end up losing the rack. Those types of racks are the ones where my frustration starts to settle in. Of course, I get frustrated if an opponent gets out of my safe as well, but it's just not as intense than if I were to just make a mistake and then all of a sudden I lose the rack because I made a mistake taking a low percentage shot. So, Roopster, I hope that answers your question. Oh, with ball in hand, I could have Warren. I could have played the 1-8 combination. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the rack that you're talking. I think I have an idea of the rack that you're talking about. But since you're wondering if I should have played the combination, my first rule of thumb is if I have ball in hand, then the last thing I'm going to want to do is to play a combination or a bank shot or something that doesn't involve me hitting one ball and having it go to a pocket. Now, having said that, there's always an exception. I think there was actually a rack in my very first match against Morgan Bass where I was struggling between taking a combination or taking a long shot down the rail, and I don't even have full access to the one ball. And I went ahead and didn't take the combination, and I shot the one ball and missed, and ended up with a really, really low score. And when I go back and look at that rack every time, I just kept on telling myself, I should have took the combination. I should have took the combination. So like it just really depends. But more times than not, if I've got ball in hand, I'm sending a single ball to a pocket. I'm not doing something that involves three or more balls. Jared Newman, name some tips for my break. When I hit hard, my cue seems to deflect, or my cue ball seems to deflect off, or my cue ball seems to deflect off the cue ball, or your cue seems to deflect off the cue ball, but if you hit soft, the break sucks. Well, first, are you breaking with a magic rack? Because if you're in your local pool hall using wooden racks, if you break soft, your break is going to not be as good as it could be as if you were using a magic rack. If you're breaking hard and your cue is deflecting, I would be very curious to know what your tip to cue accuracy is, and are you actually twitching at the last second or moving at the last second before you contact the cue ball? Like one of the breaks you saw where I'm trying to demonstrate getting that cue ball to stop in the middle of the table with not a below center hit, but then my cue ball still drew back, which tells me that I had to have dipped at the last second before I struck the cue ball. Like there's no other explanation for that, because if I do everything correctly, you should see a result like my last break. So that's why you always have to, I've said before, like when things don't go according to plan, look at the result of what's happening and really try to understand it. I explained to y'all that if my cue ball starts going off to what would be, from your perspective, the left side rail, it'd be my right side rail. If the cue ball goes off to the right on my break, then I'm not hitting the one ball the way I want it to be, even though it looks like I must be when I'm aiming. So you have to be very meticulous on identifying what's actually causing your mistakes. And if your cue is deflecting off your cue ball, that's the first thing I'm going to look at. Since you're trying to swing hard, you're swinging fast, but how accurate are you actually swinging? The audio intermittently cuts out. I'd only be curious if that's because, let me just turn the filter off. I would think the distance shouldn't matter when I'm playing, or at least I would hope the distance shouldn't matter. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn the filter off, and let's see if that helps. Javier Quintana, you says you have a question about my practice routine. I mean, is that your question? Like, are you asking what is my practice routine? And while I'm at it, let me at least do this. I'm gonna go ahead and soft break, or at least what would be considered my soft break, and I'll even use my playing cue to kind of illustrate my point of soft breaking, or what would be considered a soft break, doesn't matter as long as your tip to cue ball accuracy is on par, because that way you're still transferring all the energy that you need into the cue ball and then into the rack. So like this is what a soft break would look like to me. And look at the result that I get because I'm using a magic rack. Like that's a soft break. We got a little clutter here, no big deal. We got the one ball still down here. I made the wing ball, and the stops pretty much right on contact. I only got missed by the 8-ball. Like that's a soft break to me. But still, I mean, this is a decent result to end up having. But, if you're playing in a tournament that doesn't allow soft breaking, I clearly wouldn't advise it. Okay, so that's 2 people that have mentioned it. Let me take the transceiver out of my pocket. Let's see if I can actually clip it to my belt. Or clip it to me somewhere, because I didn't have that problem I didn't seem to have that problem during Bang Time's live stream. All right, so it's out of my pocket now, so I'm going to go ahead and play through a rack. Let me see, where am I at? Y'all see me like that? Okay, good. Probably just lost audio there for a second. Yeah, there's no cord. So what you have here is, this is my transceiver, or the transmitter, that's hooked to the USB, or that's going over the air to the USB device. So I'd only be curious about like the distance. How well does it handle the distance? And y'all are saying that whenever I bend over to take a shot, that's when it starts to get a little crackly. So, but I had this thing in my back pocket, so now I'm trying to move it to somewhere towards my front. But I don't want it to be obviously in the way when I'm shooting. So, and I just tried to move it to my front pocket, and I accidentally turned the darn thing off. All right, so I'm going to try to play a rack real quick with it in the front and read you guys' comments as to how it sounds. Okay, now that it's nice and toasty in here, turn off my heater. All right, so make sure I have enough slack to actually move around too. Okay, so let me know how everything sounds as I try to go through this rack. And it's already kind of like in the way when I bend over because I can feel it. And I just realized that how often was I actually talking when I was bending over to shoot a shot? Like, I don't think I was really talking all that much. Like, can y'all hear me at least loud and clear from while I'm out here? I would hope so. Oh. I did that once during the tournament, but at least kept the cue ball on the table. So I'm actually really curious now why I didn't have this problem during the tournament, and I only have it during my stream. So clearly I still have some technical issues to work through. Do y'all remember this shot that I had last night? This was very similar, and I ended up overcutting this shot. Eric should remember it. Ah. You scratching? No? Okay. All right, last shot. I'm just going to try to three-rail this. I was trying to do that without scratching. So, I mean, let me know, like, was there any difference with that? Let's have a look. And switch back to this. Okay, so there's all that. Okay, so we do think it's the distance. I mean, if it was the distance, I would have expected to see that during Jim's stream, not just my own. It's perfect now. Nice shot. Sounds great. Oh, was it all happening when I was explaining the break? Oh, that's if that's true, then when I try to do something new here, it's probably then the audio is probably gonna suck. 'Cause like I said, I do have a treat for y'all after we do some talking. Okay, so I mean, I guess we'll say the same thing. It is what it is. Let's see. I saw some. Let me try to see if there's any questions that I overlooked. Okay, so that's where that started. All right, so Wayne Burba, is it true people take the shot they feel they have had more success, thus stopping better results in training? I guess I'm not sure I understand how you're phrasing that. I would think that, like, you know what shots you're good at and you know what shots that you're not good at, and like meaning that these are shots that you're going to make and play position on the next ball. And more times than not, what'll actually happen is you'll notice that you start playing like very similar shots, like over and over and over and over, because your position play is also that good. And then every now and again, because like your opponent or because of yourself, you end up with shots that you just don't shoot as often as you practice. And I think that would be the only reason why. No matter what, the reason why you practice is you're supposed to be practicing at what you're weak at. So if you're always shooting the same shots during practice, I mean, I think that's going to hold back your results that you're probably looking for in regards to getting better. Because when I'm practicing, that's usually what I'm doing. Like, I'm at least always trying to practice my positioning that is going to allow me to have like easy shots over and over and over again. But then I'm always still going to practice like ridiculous cut shots like you just saw me do on the 8-ball, for example, as well as practice my banks, as well as practice my kicks, all the mechanics of the game. Tristan, do you think there is anything that holds an amateur or good player back from improving any further? Yes, that's I always say that your ability to learn and actually understand what is causing your mistakes, and not just saying, "Oh, I missed." Right? I think that's going to be like the foundational thing that holds anybody back from being able to learn and being able to get better. You would say, like, for example, if you take any system that I've demonstrated on any of my YouTube channels, like my one rail banks and kicks video, or take Dr. Dave's corner 5 three-rail kick system, or Tor Laurie's spot on the wall 3-rail kick system. Take any system and you go onto the table and you try it and you fail. I'm more than certain that the first thing you're going to say to yourself is the system sucks, right? The system doesn't work. Rather than taking your own responsibility and making sure that, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? I just had a question before that said that when I'm breaking hard, my cue ball deflects off of my cue, and that's why I'm questioning, well, what is his tip to cue ball accuracy, and is he actually striking the cue ball where he actually wants to? If he hasn't studied that enough, then I'm not going to say it has anything to do with the rack or anything to do with the power. It's one little. I shouldn't say little, because it's probably an important thing if it is the reason why he's not getting successful breaks. So that's pretty much how I'm going to answer that. If you're struggling with something, and all you're saying is that you're just struggling, and you're not really identifying the key reason as to why you're struggling, then that's what's holding you back. And so while you're practicing on something and you end up just missing, you just go, whatever, I missed, set it up and try it again. And really try to understand, well, why did you mess up? Same thing goes for my 3-in-1 straight-in drill that I just recently published onto my channel. When you're doing a straight-in shot, your cue ball can only do 3 things. It can either stop, go in a straight line with the object ball or draw completely straight back when you're shooting pure straight in shots. So if you make that object ball and your cue ball does not go in a straight line forward or backwards or stop, then you're not hitting the object ball straight. Like there's no questioning it. Like the ball will go in, sure, that just means you cheated the pocket, but you did not hit the object ball straight, which is the whole purpose of that drill, is to make sure that when you're aiming, you're actually hitting that ball square, straight. And every time you get down on the ball, and every time that you shoot, for that matter, when you shoot that cue ball, you think that you're aiming correctly. And then you find out that you're actually not. That's what that drill is supposed to show you, that you're actually not aiming correctly. You think you are because of what your eyes are seeing and what you're processing and saying, this is it, I'm going to take the shot. And you go, well, I made the ball, so that's good enough. But it's really not. You really need to just fine-tune that detail and really get it to where you're hitting it straight, watch your cue ball go in a straight line forward, or watch your cue ball draw straight backwards, because that's really going to show you how accurate you're actually being, especially with your aiming and your tip to cue ball accuracy. Nick G, yeah, I think that's the reason for the skid. He's asking why was I getting so much skid or cling during my matches. I had it happen at two critical moments, and one where I think the ball still went in, but it screwed up my position because the cue ball didn't react appropriately. And yes, I'm going to say it's because of the amount of chalk buildup that actually happens on the cue ball. There are times, I even mentioned during one of my matches where I said, I wish y'all can see how much chalk is on my cue ball and how worried I am about any skid or cling actually happening, which is why normally you don't see it usually during the stream, because I've already done it by the time Jim will click back over to me. But I have the cue ball in my hand and I'm doing this to wipe all the chalk off of the ball before I break on the next one. So having said that, I have ordered 5 pieces of Teom chalk to try, because I've watched a couple of videos that show that they hardly leave any residue on the cue ball when you're playing. And so I'm going to see how true that actually is, and I'll probably do like a comparison video, because y'all know I love my Predator chalk, and I still do. But when it comes down to moments like that, to where like the skid or the cling is basically causing my loss, then that's the reason for me trying a different piece of chalk. Warren, the competition ghost format was great, but do you know what size pockets everyone had? Could make a big difference. Some players looked like they had much forgivable tables. That is true. I will agree with that. But those were the conditions that we all agreed upon to play. Right? We all have our own home tables. I have a 4x8 diamond Pro-Am table with 4.5 inch quarter pockets and 5-inch side pockets. Some people were playing on 7-foot tables. Some people were playing on 9-foot tables. Some people might have had smaller pockets. Some people might have had bigger pockets. So yeah, you know, the smaller the table, the bigger the pockets, the easier it is to be able to play. But at the end of the day, everybody should have had home field advantage. That's, to me, that's all that really matters. Felix B is I think you're wanting to say Valhalla, not Valhalla. A good cue. I'm going to tell you yes, because Valhalla is from Viking, and I have Viking cues. I actually love my Viking cue. I've just retired it, is all. So hopefully, make sure the stream looks okay. Yeah, so hopefully you're going to be able to see this, because like this is my Viking cue that I retired when I got my Predator. This is a VM8 from the Millennium series. It's got these inlay pearls that are in the forms of crosses here inside of the points. It's even here inside of the butt of the cue. I believe it's like 19.5 ounces, because that's usually what I like to play with. These shafts should be 13 millimeters. They actually might be a little bit smaller after I do like some cleaning and stuff and general wear and tear. And I have a Kamui Clear medium tip that's on it. But this is from Viking, and Valhalla is like the sister or brother company of Viking. So I would say that those are good cues. Plus, it's still going to just be personal preference on whether or not if the cue is good to you or not. Why is 9-foot pool losing traction in the U.S.? Is it too hard for the amateurs over there? I'm not going to say that it's probably too hard, because like I would prefer to play on 9-foot tables, because that's what I grew up on. I think primarily it's also because 9-foot tables are expensive. I mean, they're really expensive. I think my 8-foot table cost me I think it was like $5,000 when I bought mine. So a 9-foot table, just for an extra foot of length, I think we're talking like a $2,000 or $3,000 increase. So you can only imagine the investment a business would have to do to fill their pool hall with nothing but 9-foot tables. Plus leagues, whether it's BCA, APA, TAP, VNEA, they all play on bar boxes, right? Your 3.5 by 7-foot tables. So if anything, if someone were to invest in a league where they play on 9-foot tables, then that could possibly bring the popularity back in. But most of your tournaments now are being geared towards 3.5 by 7-foot tables, which are cheaper than 9-foot tables. So I would kind of think that's the driving force, on top of that it's also easier to play on a smaller table. Table Roll is asking about the DigiQ Blue. Is that the thing that measures how hard you're hitting? Like, I can't remember what that thing does. I think you stick it on the butt of your cue, and it's supposed to be able to track some sort of data. And I don't remember what the data is that it's supposed to track. Zach Smith, what tip do I play with my Revo? It's a Victory Soft. That's what came on the Revo. Yeah, Ryan Rep, price and space. The bigger the table, the more space you're going to need around it. So I mean, that is true. G-Man, you said the 7-point strategy. I think you mean the 3-point strategy in 9-ball. Have I ever taken it after your break in a tournament? No, because nobody no tournaments that I've ever been in actually enforce the 3-point rule, as far as not being like professional open type events. Okay, I'm getting notifications. I need to put this on Do Not Disturb. Okay. Yeah, Ron Johnson, having too many 9-foot tables can just take up too much space. However, the Texas State Open that I played in, that pool hall, nothing but 9-foot tables, and they have 2 5x10 3-cushion billiard tables, and they have a couple of shuffle boards. So if you have the space to put the tables in there, then by all means. I'm sorry, G-Man. You're talking about the 7-point strategy in 9-ball. Have I ever taken it? No, because my break doesn't. It will never cause the 9-ball to drop. Or I shouldn't say never, but probably 1 out of 100 times that 9-ball is not going to move out of the magic rack unless it gets bumped out of the by another ball. So the 7-point. The 7 points that I can score off of a 9-ball break more than likely will not happen for me when I'm playing, especially when I'm playing with a magic rack. So I would have to say it depends on the scenario, right? Because if I broke and the 9-ball fell, I have no clutters, right? And I'm positioned on the 1-ball, then yeah, I'm going to spot it and go for my 11 because we're talking about a 4-point difference. But if you look at like the example Sean was in yesterday, he made a good strategic call where he was they only had 2 racks left and he was pretty far behind. So he made the 9-ball on the break and took the 7 points in hopes that Eric would mess up his final rack and give him a chance to do something in the final rack to actually catch up. But Eric didn't allow it. He put himself in a position where the final rack didn't matter what Sean did, but it was still a good strategic call to make versus trying to go for that 2 extra points and failing and getting less than 7. So I mean, it's very scenario based on whether or not you should take it or not. And there's been a couple of matches where they took the 7 and won because they took the 7. But for me, like, I don't think I would ever take the 7. 1, because I don't think it would hardly ever happen. And then 2, I would say it just really depends. Tristan, you're asking what bridge length do the pros use when they break an 8-ball, 9-ball, or 10-ball, and if they're using power. I'm not a pro, so I can't even answer that question, and I don't think anybody has ever asked that question. So it's really, a lot of times you ask very, very, very technical questions, and the only generic response I can actually give you is to really try to figure it out for yourself. Because if I tell you that that a pro breaks 25 miles an hour, but then you watch me break 13, 14 miles an hour, which one are you going to pick? Like that's really what it's going to boil down to. I would, as much as I would admire professionals and their professional play, there are still certain tidbits here and there that just wouldn't be recommended from an instructional standpoint on you shouldn't be mimicking what pros do. Like if you saw a guy that played lights out, like the best you've ever seen, but for some reason the tip of his cue always starts at the very right edge of the cue ball. But when he finally hits the cue ball, it comes back and hits left spin or top spin or bottom spin or whatever. Are you going to want to mimic that? Or do you want to just have your foundational ground of having center cue ball, either flattening your bridge hand for above center hit, raising your bridge hand, flattening your bridge hand for a below center hit, raising your bridge hand for an above center hit, and maybe using backhand English or front hand English to apply side spin, because those are things that are easy to adapt versus trying to copy somebody else. But your next question, though, is it true that that if you play on bigger tables and go down to a smaller table, that your accuracy is better? That is an absolute yes. And that's the main reason why I have an 8-foot table, so that way I don't have to adjust so much between going up to a 9-foot table or going down to a 7-foot table. The bigger the table you play on, the easier it is to play on smaller tables, because on bigger tables, you do have to be more accurate because you are traveling more distance. And then the smaller the table gets, the less distance you have to travel, and therefore, since you're already so accurate on playing on a bigger table, being just as accurate or more accurate on a smaller table is easier to accomplish. Nick G, so you're saying that Sean had balls tied up too. Well, if you watch the stream, right, Sean identified his problems that he was having, but he didn't change anything to get a different result. Like if I try to, let me see if I can replicate. So y'all saw during the whole entire tournament, I broke pretty much the same exact way every single solitary time because it gave me the greatest result that I could have. But if I were to say, since I'm using a magic rack, if I were to try to break with like some absolute power or whatever, let's just see what happens. And just so I don't get ahead of myself, I'm pretty sure I changed the view. I did. Okay. Don't want to hear any buzzards tonight. But if you break a certain way, like I said, y'all know how I break already. So I'm going to break with a lot of power. And I hope I keep the cue ball on the table. Okay, fortunately, I still have a good break, but let's remember that I'm also on an 8-foot table. But I don't have position on the 1 ball, so this isn't a break that I would use. This is still a good rack, except for the 6 ball, right? Because look where the 4 ball's at, since I dropped the 5 ball. So for me to transition from the 4 to the 6, do I transition to play the 6-8 combination, or do I transition to try to play the bank, or do I try to get into this window here to shoot the 6 ball down here in Jim's format? In an actual match format, more than likely I'm going to play the combination or maybe play some sort of safety. Plus, you saw my cue ball hop, and y'all know I don't like doing that. So let's try this again. Breaking with power. I just don't have as much control on my cue ball as I would like when I am breaking with power. Okay, so this is actually a little bit better, but look how much control I lost on my cue ball. This time I don't have like any type of clutter or combination. Now, how often can I do that? Because right now we're looking at a really, really small sample size of 2 breaks. So I will go ahead and do a 3rd break. But like I said, I lost control of the cue ball. And that's what you don't want to happen. Now, I can clearly work on my break to where I can break as hard as I'm doing and then try to have better results. But, I mean, I already have a break that works. So, pun intended, you know, it's not broken, so I'm not going to fix it. So let's try this again. I'm actually trying to create clutters with hitting as hard as I am. This is actually not that bad either. But the point being is, look at, like, this right here, this is close to what was happening to Sean, is all the balls were ending up at the bottom half of the table, right? And that's where the clutters were actually occurring. But, at least for me, on my 8-foot table, when I've practiced it enough, y'all have seen how I basically have a nice spread of some balls are down there and some balls are up here, instead of all of them being down there. Yeah, so now, at least if there was any suspicion on whether or not if I can break hard, hopefully that suspicion is gone now. Because I can, I just don't. I mean, I used to break hard when magic racks didn't exist. But now, you know, look at how I was jumping up and popping the cue ball and stuff. And like I said, that last one was probably the best example I can give, where there was a lot of balls that were down here that could potentially turn into clutters. But, you know, if I'm using a magic rack, then I'm breaking like this. This is the worst ball that I ended up with. So I just needed it to hit the rail and come off a little bit. But that's really the difference. And the whole point of me talking about this is when Sean said it during the tournament. Like, he wants to try my break, which he thought was which he thought was a draw break, and then he identified all the clutters that he was getting, but he Rooster, you smell an 11. But he wasn't making any type of an adjustment. So, like, to me, that's like the exact definition of insanity. It's like you're not doing or you're doing the same thing over and over again, but you're expecting a different result. He identified when he played against Eric and me that our balls were like spread apart, like all over the place. And he knew that we were breaking not as hard as he was and looking at the results that we were getting, but he wasn't mimicking it, right? So that was kind of the whole point, to where, like, I had said, like, I think after my second or third match in the tournament, like I was wondering who's going to start copying my break because of the results that I was getting, because it works on any size table. Clearly, if you're on a 7-foot table, you don't put as much power because the balls are still going to travel less distance. And if you're on a 9-foot table, you do have to add a little bit more power to make sure that they spread apart and don't get stuck on rails and then don't clutter up. But like I said, the whole point of that little rant was, and this kind of goes towards like the question earlier that Tristan had about improving, getting better results, is quickly identifying the problem and figuring out what the resolution is, so that way you can solve the problem. Oh, you're saying that he took the 7 on that one. You're saying that his balls were cluttered up on the rack that he broke the 9 in, and that's why he took the 7. But yeah, that would be like the exact scenario to go ahead and take the 7. But still, it still proves my point that, you know, if he would have just adjusted his break by not breaking so hard, specifically because he was on a 7-foot table, he wouldn't have like clutters, like hardly any clutters at all. Because if you look at a lot of his breaks did have clutters where he had to break them out during his run out. You know, and like sometimes he'd make 3 or 4 balls on the break, which was good. And that's when his run out was super easy because all the remaining 6 balls were spread across the table. Lucas Stoffel, you'll have to be a little bit more specific. Says he's been using the Revo shaft for about a year and not liking the Victory soft tip. He's thinking about changing it to a Kamui Black soft tipped. What are your thoughts? I mean, you know, a lot of it's still going to be personal preference. When I shot with Kamuis, I shot with Kamui mediums, so I can't really compare it to one or the other. But you know, I'm not going to say a soft tip is a soft tip because Kamui clearly uses different leather material than the Predator does with their Victory soft tips. But what exactly is it about the Victory soft that you don't like? Because when I first started using my Victory soft tip, I can't feel I couldn't feel the vibration of the hit. When the cue strikes the cue ball, like with my wooden shafts and stuff, I can actually feel the vibrations in my arm. That really like allows me to be like in tune with the hit to know if I'm hitting too hard or hitting too soft. With the Revo shaft on top of having a soft tip, I couldn't feel that hit as much. And so I had to adjust a whole lot, trying to figure out, am I hitting too hard? Am I hitting too soft? Because when during like the first couple of days of using the Revo, like I was under hitting a ball because I would still play the way I normally play, but like the cue ball wouldn't be moving as far as I would want because of like it doesn't feel right. So then I try to hit a little bit harder to compensate for me not getting the position that I'm wanting, and then I end up hitting too hard. But then, like anything else, after practice, it starts to settle in, and now I've got it down to where it's just right. Ron Garofalo, do tips go bad from time or just use? I inherited a few cues and the shape looks good, but I'm not sure if I should or if it's something that you should address. Well, the first answer is going to be, have you played with them yet? I mean, everything degrades over time. I mean, that's a pretty blanket statement. I think plastic is the only thing that doesn't degrade over time. But then, yes, you know, use also affects a tip because, you know, it's you know, a physical object contacting another physical object. So clearly it's going to, like, you know, damage it over time. But my first answer is going to be is try them out and you know, and see how they feel. I'm pretty sure they're not going to feel as good as like brand new tips. But I mean, if they're still playable, then they're still playable. I mean, for example, I can try this since I haven't ran this table yet. This cue here, this is my Sean STL-17 that still has the factory tip that came on it. That's about 6 years old. And I don't even know what, like, Sean has their own proprietary tip, but from what I've read before, it's supposed to be like comparable to a water buffalo tip. So, not knowing whether or not, make sure the stream is okay. Yes. Not knowing whether or not if the tips that you're talking about are more than 6 years old, but I mean, this cue is still in playable condition. And this is a wooden shaft with a medium tip. I should have paid more attention. This is a key transition, and I just got straight in on the 3-ball. And I'm probably going to scratch if I shoot this shot. So, what can I do? What can I do? Sheesh. Guess I can try to kick it in. Low percentage shot. Oh, but I almost made it. And like I said, this is still the factory tip that's been on this cue. That's over 6 years old. Hopefully you guys can hear the difference in the hit too, because I'll eventually do a review on my Revo shaft with the Victory soft tip against stuff that I've done. But in comparison to the racks that I've previously played to this rack that I'm using with my Sean now, I hope that you can actually hear the difference that's actually in the hits, because I can feel the difference in the hits. So I hope that answers your question, though. Yeah, same, Nick. I still like the sounds of my my medium tips with the wooden shafts versus the Revo shaft. Stan Schweyer, I hope I said that right. Is SS for super soft? Yes, it is. Uh-oh, realized I might be missing something. Just a second. There we go. Take that, and where are the, oh, here we go. So, this is a Kamui medium clear. And most tips are labeled like this. So I'll put this up close and you can see the M, which will stand for a medium. And then here's a Kamui Black Super Soft, which has the two S's on it. So, and most tips usually label themselves like that. Okay, let's see. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of chatter. So I'm going to try something completely new for y'all. Hopefully this goes as good as I want it to. And in case you're wondering, I'm about to put this bad boy on. All right. So let's see if this works out. So first things first is I have this little headband that I put over my head because the head strap for the GoPro is actually pretty freaking tight. And regardless of how much I try to adjust the straps, it doesn't do me any good. It still like wraps around my head like pretty darn tight. So I put this headband on to give me a little bit of extra padding. And then I put this guy on. And then hopefully I put it at the same spot that I had before. Because I already kind of adjusted everything prior to the, Pool Ninja, that's right. I hopefully adjusted everything prior to the stream being on. So are y'all ready for this? Because I'm going to turn this, and then we're going to try to do that. And then let me change this one more time to this. And so hopefully you should see the GoPro view. So you're going to see a tour of my garage. Hopefully this is doing what that it's supposed to be doing. You know, it's one thing to see GoPros, you know, in YouTube videos and stuff, but then what about a live stream? Other than when the live stream, the source of the live stream is actually from the GoPro. So first of all, I need to see opinions on the window. Like, do y'all feel that the window, actually, here, I'll do this. I'll get down to, like, I'm going to shoot, and then I need y'all's opinions on the size of the window. I can make that window a little bit bigger, but let me know what does this look like to y'all. Because this is pretty much what y'all are going to see. And this is what I calibrated everything to before I started the stream. So, like, what does that look like to y'all before I tried to run a rack? Do you all want me to make the window a little bit bigger? A little bit bigger? Okay, I can try. So we'll do, like, obviously I don't want to cover up the table. Or matter of fact, here, y'all want to see all my APA patches? And then I've got plenty more that are right here also that I just haven't hung up yet. But these are all my APA patches that I've gotten. A couple of BCA plaques for MVP, some autographs that I've gotten from David Pearson, who's known as the Ginger Wizard for Speed Pool, Florian Benham, and 2 autograph photographs of Efren Reyes when I got to meet him. But how about this? Is this better? You're not going to see the rack. The whole point is really to see the cue ball. So, like, let me go back since I made the. Yeah, the whole point of the GoPro view is to see where I'm hitting on the cue ball. That's why I still have the front camera view, so you can see what's happening on the table. So is that a little bit easier to see? Oh, there's too much of my hand? Oh, never mind. Okay, so I'm seeing stuff that's perfect. Okay, so, well, like I said, this is the first time I'm trying to do this, so I'm not expecting it to be, you know, like the greatest. And then when I see it when the stream is over, then I can see what type of adjustments that I can make. So let's see how I can do here. So there's center cue ball, and I just go slightly above center. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see that movement I just did, even on the GoPro. And clearly it wasn't high enough because the cue ball just comes straight back. So I'm obviously going to take ball in hand on this one. Like I said, so hopefully the whole point is so you're able to see like where I'm hitting on the cue ball, and you can see like when I'm applying backhand English, et cetera, et cetera. That's the whole point of this. And hopefully between the main view and the GoPro view, you don't get motion sickness. So don't just like explicitly watch the GoPro view. Oh, I'm going to leave myself a long shot. Didn't mean to do that. Meant to hit that a little bit harder. I'm actually really surprised that I made that. I got terrible position on the 8 ball, but I'm actually really proud that I made that 7 ball. Holy cow. All right, so I'm going to try to kick this guy in. This is probably where the rack ends. Unless I get lucky. Oh, never mind. Well, at any rate, I hope that was fun. I'll do it again on another rack, but I at least wanted to see what that was going to be like. So turn that back on. Whoops. Turn that off. And then go back to here. Switch to this, and then go back to that. All right. Whew. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that. And like I said, I'll do it again before the live stream ends. There. Now how's my hair? Let's see. What kind of glove is that? This is the Predator glove. And I'm not even sponsored by Predator. I just like my stuff to match. Let's see. The two cameras aren't in sync. I can probably understand that, because what's actually happening, what you're actually seeing is not the live view from the GoPro. What you're seeing is my phone is plugged into the computer and is being used as a capture device. And so the camera I can see as a preview on my phone using the GoPro app. So whatever the GoPro sees, I can see on this, and what I'm capturing for the stream is what's on my phone screen. So there's probably a little bit of a delay, but that was the best way I knew how to like jerry rig all this together, because otherwise I'd have to have like this long cable stretching across the table and attached to the camera while it's attached to my head. It lays all over the table while I'm playing and stuff, and that's just not going to work. If I adjusted the camera a little bit higher, it would be perfect. I mean, I could try that on the next one. Like I said, when I go and watch this afterwards and see like how everything sounded, how everything looked, that's where I usually do all my edits for the next live stream. How do I get a lot of spin without any effort? I mean, just hit the ball with the appropriate spin. I think I demonstrated that one time with everybody. So first things first. I've done this before, and I don't mind doing it again, because it does teach some stuff. Okay, everything looks good. So I'm going to ask the same question that I asked before, because this is done by Grady, the Professor Matthews. What VHS does this come from? So this is also to answer Tristan's questions about side spin. If I want to kick this one ball into this corner pocket, I already understand that I'm 4 diamonds away. And if I have to kick this, that I would want to kick halfway in between, which is going to be at diamond 2. So as long as I kick from diamond 1 or diamond 4 to diamond 2, I should be able to make the one ball with no side spin at all. Right? Or I'll come pretty close. Speed and spin are all going to take are all going to be variables that I have to be very wary of. But if that spot were blocked, then if I come a diamond and a half down, then that means I'll come a diamond and a half over, which means I'm going to be short a diamond. And I explained this in my side spin video, that a tip of side spin means that the cue ball will also travel a diamond further. So since if I aim at 1.5 over, with 1 tip of left spin, then that should be enough to carry me over to the pocket, hit the ball, maybe even make it. And I made it this time. But now, if that spot were blocked, if I only come 1 diamond down, that means with no side spin, I'm going to be 2 diamonds short. So if I put 2 tips of left spin, then I should be able to carry the cue ball 2 diamonds over. And if that spot were blocked, now we start getting into applying inside spin, or right spin in this case, and we have to add a little bit of power, because power will change the rebound angle or the outbound angle of a kick shot and even a bank shot. So if I come 2.5 diamonds over, this is where I'm going to start applying a little bit, or 1 tip, or probably 1 tip of right spin and a little bit of draw, plus a little bit harder than I have been hitting it. And you can see I still missed. I don't really want to contact this short rail. So I'm actually going to hit a little bit harder to cut the outbound angle more. And then I'm able to make the ball. And then if that spot were blocked, you're probably wondering, like, how many different variables are there? I can come 2 diamonds down, make sure I don't hit this 5 ball, or 3 diamonds down, I should say, really dig down into the cue ball with bottom right spin and hit it really hard. Or I shouldn't say really hard, it's not like it's a break speed or anything, but to really kill the outbound angle. Like that. And then if that spot were blocked, I don't think you can go here. Like, I think that's impossible. Grady Matthews did not even demonstrate that. I'll go ahead and try it, but I don't think this is possible, like, at all. But I'm going to try to hit right here, almost do the same exact thing Actually, I'm kind of massing. I feel like I'm kind of massing at this point. So it's possible. If I can do that, that means it's possible. Because really what happens also when you're doing just half a diamond down, that's kind of what you're doing, is you kind of masse into it. Whoops, close. There we go. Right, so to answer your question, Tristan, all you're really needing to do is making sure that you're putting the correct amount of side spin on the cue ball without reaching the miscue limit. Rick Ward, you were surprised to see me changing the shot during speed strokes. I don't know what you mean by that. Could you clarify that a little bit? And Tristan, you're saying top spin and screw back. It's the same answer. It's still the same answer. So there's, and this is where it's going to come down to personal preference. Because if I set up a shot and I want to draw the cue ball all the way back to the bottom rail, scratch or do whatever, I can put a little bit of bottom spin and hit this hard. To get that result. Or, I'm even going to make this go a little bit farther. So I've got a little bit more distance to travel. Or I can put maximum amount of draw that I'm comfortable doing to where I know I'm not going to miscue. Hit a lot softer and pretty much get the same result. The only difference is going to be is like, well, what if the cue ball and the object ball were like down here? And, you know, do you want to hit a shot so soft to where as the 9 ball is rolling towards his pocket, it leans to one side or whatever? That's usually why you're going to see people hit shots hard. I mean, if you want to get the maximum spin out of the cue ball, then you have to make sure that you're applying the maximum amount of spin. All right, no questions, so I guess I will try what Tristan is asking of me, and that's to play 8 ball with the 8 ball on the spot. I don't really understand what difference that's going to make. I don't know what kind of results I'm going to get in regards to the break. I'm going to break as if the 8 ball was not on the spot. But nonetheless, I'm going to still get a rather similar spread result, except I probably will not make the balls that are in the, I probably won't make the balls that are in the second row in the side pockets since they are a little bit higher. That's my guess of what's going to happen. Because like this is not a way that we normally play here in the States. So this is, or just that we play period. In my area, I shouldn't, because I don't really travel a whole lot. In my area, we don't play with the 8 ball on the spot. So I haven't studied what the results this rack will give me. But when I'm using a template rack, I don't do the classic break. I don't do the 8-ball break. I do more of a head-on break. And I control my cue ball very similarly on to my 9-ball break. So I have a little bit of topspin on the cue ball because I know the weight of the rack is going to push the cue ball back all by itself. And I didn't apply enough topspin on the cue ball because the cue ball definitely should not be all the way back here. Let me try breaking like that again. And where was the 3-ball? Was it in the second row? Because I saw the 3-ball fell in the side pocket, but I don't remember where I placed it. Try to pay more attention this time when I rack. All right, so 14 and 4-ball. Oh, garbage. Got to make sure the template is straight. Otherwise, I'm not going to see predictable results. So, all right. Okay, so either I didn't put enough topspin or I twitched at the last second or whatever, but like this is how meticulous I get when I'm trying to really figure out what am I doing wrong on certain things. So I'm going to try to make sure that I still have the correct amount of topspin to counteract the weight of the rack pushing the cue ball back, and then make sure that I actually hit where I want to hit on the cue ball to get that result right there. 4-ball still almost went into the side pocket. I at least saw that. 14-ball at least traveled towards it, but then the only issue I have now is all these different clutters that I have to deal with. So since it's an open table, what I know I can start with is a mixed combination. It looks like I should be able to do this 6-13 combination. So that's what I'm going to try to claim stripes. Question is, what the heck am I going to do next? I got to eventually figure out how to get the 12-ball away from my 4-ball. Or from the 4-ball. I might be able to do that with the 9. I'm not exactly sure yet. But let's try to bring the cue ball towards the middle of the table and see what options we get. All right, so it looks like I have a positional shot on the 15-ball. The 9-ball will go into the side pocket. I might actually be able to get it to clip the 4-ball, which might be able to break my 12-ball away. So I think I'm going to try to set up for that using the 15-ball if I'm successful at making the 15-ball. Oh, but I didn't want to scratch. Really? I thought that whole area of balls would be able to protect me. Okay, so if I'm going to try solids now, the first thing I'm going to do is deal with this. So I'm just going to shoot my 7 into the 4-ball and break this apart. And I have this 1-ball here for an immediate setup. And I really wanted that to drop, because then now my 3-ball is blocked. So I think what I can try to do here now is possibly, I'm kind of straight in on this 1-ball. I can try to draw all the way back here for position on the 4. Oh, and I drew to the side pocket. That's great. So now with ball in hand, what do you do? Everything looks pretty good. I just don't really like the 14 and the 10 ball where they're at. But I can't really get my cue ball in a position where I can take the 14 out. I can do this though, or at least I think I can. I'm going to shoot the 10 and draw into the 6. Overdrew it. But I think I can still back cut the 14 ball. Oh, I hit it. It moved. All right, 2 ball corner pocket. Overcut that one. And hopefully here I should be able to end it with stripes now. So combination. I don't want the 11 ball to fall, so I'm just going to try to roll it up there. Okay, let's try the 14 again. Bad position on the 9, terrible. It's like I'm point hooked and everything. Can't kick because I'm hooked behind I can't kick to this rail because I'm hooked behind the point. And where I would want to kick over here, I'm hooked behind the point. So kind of do the same spin exercise, except I'm going to hit over here and try to bring the cue ball back to at least make a legal hit on the 9. If I'm lucky enough, my 9 will hit the 4 ball and start tracking this way towards the corner pocket, if I'm lucky enough. Well, at least I hit the 9 first. Go. Well, let's open up that pocket for the 5 ball. I don't feel like I'm putting enough thought into these position plays. Overcut. Back bank the 9 ball. Not enough. All right, let's finish this off. 5, 3, 4, 8. Try to do a rail first here. So the biggest thing I saw with the 8 ball being on the spot is that the balls that are in the second row look like they could still go into the side pockets. So I think that's what I would probably take away from that if I were to try to practice over and over again with the 8-ball on the spot. But that's not typically how we play in my area. So the 3-ball was in the, yeah, so the balls that are in the second row can still go into the side pockets with the 8-ball being on the spot. So you tried a closed power screw shot, and I made the cue ball go at least 1.5 table lengths on a 7-foot table. I mean, what do you want me to say to that? Like, did you break and run the rack, or were you just amazed that you moved the cue ball around? Because that's going to be my concern. Tim Crumley, since he shoots APA, you pretty much use the second ball break. I go back and forth between using the second ball break and what I like to refer to as the classic break that I demonstrated in one of my YouTube videos, where I'm basically breaking from the box. I'm like 1 diamond over from the side rail and 2 diamonds up being on the head string. And I'm always trying to at least pocket the head ball into the side pocket, and that'll be, allow me to open the table up. I can try to demonstrate that. And this time, I won't use a magic rack because we don't use magic racks in League. So what I'll typically try to do in League on our 7-foot tables is either one session, I'll go for a lot of break and runs with this style of breaking, or I'll go for trying to get quick wins with the 8-ball break. And every now and again, I can still get a break and run out of the 8-ball, or hitting a ball that's in the second row. I always like to refer to it as the 8-ball break. But when you're not using a magic rack, you're not guaranteed a good rack, let alone since your opponent is racking for you, depending upon their skill levels. You would hope that your opponents don't give you bad racks on purpose, but they're not going to be perfect. But I try to break 1 diamond over, 2 diamonds up, and then I'm usually trying to make the head ball into the side pocket. But I still expect the balls that are in the second row to track towards their side pockets, and I'm expecting the balls that are in the corner to go 4 rails and possibly fall into their corner pockets. And that's regardless of using a magic rack or not. Because I am going to cut the 1 ball. I'm going to have my cue ball come to the side rail and then try to have it spin back towards the middle of the table. And let's see if I can make the 1 ball. And I don't. And I really overspun my cue ball. And see, I end up with a result like this. And if I'm playing up against another skill level 7, then I probably just lost. I think the hardest transition that I see that they're going to have to deal with is getting to the 6-ball. Matter of fact, let me see if I can run this out. Because more than likely, like, would they want to start with stripes? Because if they did, it has to be this ball. I would think they would start with solids, even though this is kind of an uncomfortable position. Get up here for the 7, because that's what I'm trying. There we go. Yeah, so I think from here, as long as I can get to that 6-ball, like, I just lost the rack off of the break. Because I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to use the 4-ball into the side pocket, maybe even to this corner pocket to transition to the to the 6 ball. Oh. Kind of just messed up there by doing that. Oh. Let's see what happens here. I'm betting I'm going to run into the 13 ball with what I'm about to try. And I was right. So that probably ruined it. Of course, you know, having said all that, of course, cue ball execution still has to be on par in order to run out. Oh, this will be cool. Oh, so close. And then now my hardest transitional ball is the 14 ball. So if I was really playing a league match, then most likely my play would be this. You know, just some sort of easy defensive shot. I mean, my opponent can hit the 6. They might be able to bank the 6 or whatever, but that's probably how I would end up playing that. But that was more to just demonstrate the classic style breaking. And so since what happened during that break was the 1 ball ended up coming really high on the side pocket, so that would tell me, regardless of the rack, like I don't ever try to factor in the rack on how I'm going to change the way I'm going to break, meaning that how many gaps were inside the rack, even though I tried to give myself the best rack I possibly could with the regular rack. But I would have cut the 1 ball too much for it to miss the way that it did. If the 1 ball misses high on the side pocket from my viewpoint, then I cut the 1 ball too much. If it misses low on the side pocket, then I hit it too full. Roopster, I think your nose is going to get you in trouble one of these days. G-Man, you remember breaking the rack and then coming off of the end rail. There is a very precision break that I remember seeing demonstrated by a buddy of mine or an acquaintance of mine many, many years ago, where he actually clips the 1 ball, barely clips the 1 ball, and then gets more of a hit on the 2nd ball. And what that's supposed to do is it opens up the opposite side of the rack, because he sends his cue ball 2 rails, off the side rail and then off the short rail, and then hits the rack again from behind to push the 8 ball towards the side pocket. And like, the only reason why I know that is because he on one league night, this is probably 15, 16 years ago, he called it, is like, watch what I'm going to do here. And executed it perfectly. Now, of course, he showed me you can't always reliably do it, because the rack isn't always going to be the same. He's not always going to be able to gracefully clip the 1 ball, use the correct amount of power, use the correct amount of speed, etc., etc. But at the moment in time when he said he was going to do it, he did it. Jared Newman, is the AccuRack or the Magic Rack better? Well, I happen to have them. So I've given my comparisons about these before. You have the Magic Rack, and then you have the AccuRack. The biggest difference being is that the Magic Rack is made out of plastic. So if I were to fold this, the Magic Rack is ruined. This is made out of fabric, like cloth. I mean, I could fold this, and then I could probably iron it back out to where it's going to where it'll straighten itself back out. So that's what would make this better, just from that argument standpoint. Now, I like Magic Racks better because to me they lay flatter on the table than this. I mean, like, my buddy is the one that told me that about ironing these to where I can probably get them to lay flatter on the table, because I've demonstrated on previous live streams to where sometimes you put these down on the table and like one of the ends here will be a little raised off the table, where that doesn't happen with these Magic Racks. They both have the same amount of interference, meaning that if a ball tracks over and dramatically slows down at one of the holes that are in these things, then the ball's going to slightly roll off course. But those are like my pros and cons that I've identified with these Magic Racks. And like I said, personally, at least in my home, I like using the Magic Racks because they lay flatter on the table and are less in the way. Oh, cool. Thanks, John Dillon. So I think the main thing is probably just having the transceiver not in my back pocket. And I have the filter. I think I have the filter turned off. And I do. So I guess I'll probably just leave it like that. So I know not to put in the receiver in the same USB hub as all the other devices. I actually have to just connect it to the computer by itself and leave the filter off. So I guess that's pretty much how I'm going to leave it. I'll, of course, verify that when I watch the stream over again. How long have I been streaming? Almost 2 hours now. I mean, how's everybody doing? I don't really see a whole lot of questions. Of course, I get to see the same people come and watch me play. So if I've answered your questions before, it's if you don't come back with more questions, I feel like I've done my job. Right? You know what you currently need to know. Roopster, how's my APA teams doing? We just recently started. And unfortunately, we had a sudden rise in COVID cases. So, like the league was postponed by a week so far. So we'll probably we didn't play at all this past week. We'll probably try to resume this week. It all depends on what our league director says. But we did get to play one time so far. Unfortunately, it was a bad night for us. We didn't really lose all that bad because I was in Minnesota when league started. I think my team lost the first week like 9-6 or 8-6. So it wasn't a terrible night. Just off to a slightly rough start than what it could have been. Horatio, how can you best describe how to stun over from one ball to another? And is stun basically a way of to force the cue ball over to the correct side of the object ball? So the short answer to your question is no. It is not a way to force the cue ball to the correct side of anything. What stun means is that the cue ball slides into the object ball. So whenever you're cutting an object ball, you have what's referred to as the tangent line, where the cue ball and the object ball will split apart at a 90-degree angle. So if you're cutting a ball to the left, the cue ball will go off to the right, and if you're cutting a ball to the right, the cue ball will go off to the left. So when the cue ball can actually slide into the object ball, if it's a straight-in shot, the cue ball just halts, right? It has no momentum to go forward. It has no momentum to come backwards, so it just halts. That's why it's referred to as a stop shot. But when you do the same thing on a cut shot, it's referred to as a stun shot because you're getting it to go perfectly down the tangent line. So to get it when you're going from one ball to the next, you have to understand, well, do you need your cue ball to go to the right after you hit the first object ball? If the answer is yes, then that means you have to cut that object ball to your left and vice versa. Tim Crumley, we're supposed to have a city event, I think in February or March, and I have an 8-ball team and my 9-ball team that I'm no longer on that qualified for city is supposed to be able to play in that. I am playing 9-ball this session, which is supposed to prepare us for playoffs and the next city event. So hopefully I'll get to have some APA 9-ball matches that I'll get to post, because I just recently published an APA 8-ball match, and that was from last session. Like I think I've got 2 more videos from last session that I still have to run through the editing process and stuff and post. And now we're in a brand new session to where I'll get some brand new footage to be able to record. Well, thanks, Jared. I appreciate that. That's the whole purpose for my channel in regards to the pool instructional stuff that I put on here. I fell behind on posting programming videos, because I still want to be able to post programming videos and do like fitness related stuff. But everybody loves my pool content. I did my 40 push-ups for my birthday and published that, and that hasn't even reached 1,000 views yet. So I know what my viewers like, and so I do try to stick to that more than anything. But it just, like I said, every now and again I just stick in some random stuff. Oh, your 9-ball team fell short, Tim? That's unfortunate. Well, like I said, with this session, I'm playing two nights a week now. I'm playing 1 night of 8-ball and 1 night of 9-ball, because we now have a roster that can support me as a skill level 9. And so I'm really looking forward to playing 9-ball again, especially with the way that my game has grown here lately. From going to Minnesota, things that I've learned, playing these virtual ghost tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. And now to try to use a lot of the tools that I have in actual matches, because when we're playing the ghost, you can't play safe or anything like that. So I'm ready to like bring all that back again. Rick Ward, you'll never again push up your age. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a point in my life where I'm not going to do it either. Wheelhouse Whiskey, yes. When I did the New Year live stream, that was when I was in Minnesota with Demetrius taking his boot camp. That was a lot of fun. I just wish I would have put up more racks. I lost 9-2, and I know that I at least had opportunities to possibly make it 9-5 if I were still to lose. Because if I were to win the racks that I felt that I gave away, like that probably could have just like changed the entire momentum. And maybe I could have won, maybe I wouldn't have won. But I at least had opportunities to win 3 other racks, and I just blew it. Zonk D, no, I never played the mobile 8-ball game. I mean, it's a computer game, so it's not going to be anywhere near the actual live playing game. I think Share did a really good video though, where there is a online pool game that supposedly did a really great job at mimicking the true physics of the game through programming. But as far as the mobile game, I don't even think like the mobile game is anywhere near like reality, like what you can really do on a pool table. What's age is it AJ Luther 723? What's the biggest takeaway you got from the boot camp? So I'm clearly not going to share any type of secrets. I talked to Demetrius and asked him like, what is he okay with me sharing? What is he okay with me not sharing? Because I don't want to take away from his business. What I can say is that there's a couple of things I am going to make some YouTube videos on. That he's perfectly fine with me doing. These are like some drills and like I think I have a challenge video that I can make that I got from there that he gave me. But the only way I can sum this up without truly giving anything away is, for me, there's a different way I can look at the table. There's still my way of looking at the table and my way of being able, that I would normally play a run out. But now I have another way. And so I'm trying to mingle the two together, because when I was learning what I was learning, it turns out I was overlearning to where I was like strictly doing what he told me to do. And then sometimes he would say, you could have done this. And I think to myself, well, that's how I normally would have played it. So I do know that the way I currently play, it's not like there's anything wrong with it, but he did expose a flaw in the way that I look at the table on certain shots. And certain run-out patterns. And then so giving me another perspective and trying to truly figure out when do I use that perspective versus the perspective I'm used to using, that's what I'm currently working on, like every time that I'm on the table. Oh, John, that's freaking awesome. You know, if you captain 2 APA teams and 1 BCA team in South Carolina, and your players watch my stuff, and you're telling me that they're getting better watching my stuff, then like that's just freaking awesome. Like that makes me really, really happy to hear that. Yeah, Tim Crumley. I've seen those videos from Venom where he takes trick shots that are done in the mobile games and it is able to reproduce them. But of course, he's reproducing trick shots that he believes are reproducible, because I'm pretty sure there's still some physics in that game that just are not reproducible, like at all, like period. Schaefer, I think this is the first time I've seen you in here. I appreciate that you've been playing for over 50 years and you're still picking up some tips from me. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I've been playing for 27 years now, and I'm still not done learning how to play the game. Hence, why I went to the boot camp and I learned something else. Like the game is a never-ending learning process. So that's awesome when I read from you guys about how my videos and stuff are helping, and like how my advice helps, and like how to approach things, from what I like to call from a crawl, walk, run, fly methodology. And if you guys are actually picking this stuff up and implementing it into your game, and it's allowing your game to improve, that's just freaking awesome. CVM Dem 23-1, that's true. You never know everything in pool. That's absolutely true. All right, I tell you what. Let's do a game of 10 ball. What do you say? Do 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 do. My 10 ball break method is really no different than my 8 ball break method. If y'all caught the New Year's stream, you saw that when I broke against Demetrius, I was able to make a ball on the break. And that's what he really admired about my break. And I don't pop my cue ball either. Am I missing a ball? Oh, I put the 9 ball up. Took too many stripes off. And so just as much as Demetrius is a better pool player than me, I was actually able to drop some knowledge on him regarding the break and help improve his break. So pure case of how we all can learn from one another. So with this break here, because now I'm trying to master this break just as much as I want to say that I've mastered the 9-ball break, to where there's ghost style breaking, to where you just like want to break and have a decent spread without soft breaking. That way you can take ball in hand and run the table. And then there's match breaking, where you can break, have position on the 1 ball because you want that to still be on the table, and then just be able to run out the table without taking ball in hand. So in 10-ball, I'm still trying to really figure out and fine-tune where I'm hitting on the cue ball, how hard, how I'm contacting the 1 ball, to where I make either, the balls that are in the second row to go into their side pocket, for the corner balls to go 4 rails and go into their corner pocket, and for me to have position on the 1 ball. I'm still working on that. I haven't really quite figured it all out yet. But kind of like that, except I'm hooked. I have a combination. Not that I'm hooked. The one ball's blocked. So I'll try to play the combination, so that way I don't have to take ball in hand. So the cut on this is not as severe as some of the combination shots that I had during the tournament. Okay, y'all know I'm ambidextrous at this game. I can shoot both left and right-handed. I was actually toying with an idea right before the live stream, and I'm gonna do it some more and probably turn it into a video. I've already told y'all before that I'm left eye dominant, and what I was toying around with was this eye and only shooting with my right eye. And yeah, that was something different. That was something completely different. I currently don't know how to describe it yet. That's why I want to do it some more and then kind of make a video out of it. Yuck. Four ball can go into the side. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just do something creative. Let's just see if it works. With the 4 ball. First, I need to make sure that I'm on the good side of what I want. I want to be about... Yeah, I think I want to be somewhere over here with the cue ball. So let me see if I can get my cue ball over there. Okay, close enough. Y'all might be wondering what I'm doing. So this is understanding the physics of the game, and I'm not even guaranteeing that I'm going to make this shot. But we should all understand that if I cut this 4 ball on the right side, I'm automatically contacting the 10 ball. So where does the 4 ball go? Right? It starts to go over here. The question is going to be, can I make it into this side pocket? No. It's too far ahead. But what I do know is that I can make it hit this side rail and that it comes back over here. That I can at least make happen. The question is going to be, can I make it to where I can get it to fall into this side pocket, maybe even carry him off the 7 ball? I think that's possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the cue ball with topspin. That's going to spin transfer bottom spin onto the 4 ball, hopefully getting it to hit the rail a little late here. And then I'm going to throw some right spin on the cue ball to spin transfer left spin onto the 4 ball, since it'll be banking to the left. And so let's see if I can actually get it to fall into the cross side pocket. Not guaranteeing this is going to work, but this is everything that I'm thinking about to where it's like this should work. Because this is what allows me to come up with goofy shots. And look at that. Look how far back I bring it. And then I still got lucky. But if I'm able to hit that shot and make it do that, then I can make it go in here. So I probably didn't even need any side spin. I probably just needed to use top spin, and that was it, and that's it. But I do shots like that all the time in APA. And then every now and again, shots like that will come up in a tournament, and I'm not afraid to try them. And I was actually able to break and run that rack without taking ball in hand. With one lucky shot. AJ Luther, how do we bridge the gap to get 8-ball mini clip players to pick up a real cue? If you're asking that question because you want to see more people do it, that like nobody is going to deny how much work goes into playing this game, right? And this kind of goes into the topic of like, is this a dying game? Why is the popularity dying? Or why don't we get enough people? Why isn't it as exciting as other types of sports? And what a lot of people don't understand about, like, just to watch me do that, like the only exciting thing y'all saw was when I tried to do that crazy combo bank shot, and then I got something lucky and then ran out the rest of the table. Like, watching a break and run is boring to watch because like non-pool players don't have the general understanding of how difficult it actually is to maneuver that cue ball around the way the players can do, to where the run out looks as easy as it does. Like, the run out looks easy because of the amount of hard work that's actually put into making the run out look easy, when in reality it's just not easy. You can't always guarantee that your stroke is going to be the correct speed that it needs to be to send the cue ball where it's supposed to go, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that when people start to understand that, then the popularity can actually grow again. But as far as video gamers versus, video game pool players versus real pool players, like, there's a reason people play video games versus doing the real thing. It's probably because they just don't want to put in the hard work that actually is required to actually be good at the real thing. And there's really no convincing someone to do that. They're either going to do it or they're not going to do it. Oh, so I'm going to say this once. CVM Den 23-1, I remember you now because I remember the same correction where you said just to call you Camden. I do remember that. No, Nick G, the combo wasn't there. And like once I made that last shot and the 10 ball rolled in front of the 4 ball the way that it did, that was like the first shot that I immediately saw was how I could possibly get the carom off the 10 ball and then bank it into the cross side pocket. And like I said, since I overdid it, that proves to me that I can actually that I can actually do the shot. Tristan, you've heard an interview of Ronnie O'Sullivan, pro snooker player, saying that he does not like the idea of having half-decent amateurs into professional snooker because they don't play good. Well, as an amateur pool player, if I hear that from a professional, I'm going to frown upon that, because if I've got the money and to play in a tournament that I pay for, it shouldn't matter how good I am. I want to play in the tournament, so I pay my dues and I go play in the tournament. And if I'm going to, like, quote unquote embarrass myself and get destroyed by top level pro players like Ronnie O'Sullivan or what's the other one, Trump, or oh my gosh, why am I not remembering these guys' names? Is it Steve Davis and like Mark White and all of them? Then I openly know that that's the environment that I'm walking into, and I should have the liberty to be able to do so because I'm paying for it. To me, that's no different than me going into the Texas State Open knowing that Shane Van Boning was there, Skylar Woodward was there, Billy Thorpe was there, Dennis Orcorio was there, like tons of top people that would just basically run me over in a heartbeat. And I don't play half as decent as they do. But I paid my dues, I went and paid the entry fee, and I didn't even get to play them. I got destroyed by 2 other people. And so what? You know, it's like that was what I wanted to do. Chris Hurlbert, correct me if you're wrong about 10 ball being called shots. It depends on the rules. So there's 10 ball with 9 ball rules, and then there's 10 ball with call shots. Then there's like the level of play gets like really ridiculous. I think I saw a format before where they do this in 9 ball also. You have to call whether you're going for the ball or whether you're playing safe, because I think if you're going for the ball and you miss and you hook your opponent, I think the opponent has the option to give it back to you, versus if you play safe and you miss the ball on purpose, then it's obviously your opponent's turn. Like there are rules there are so many different variations of rules to the game to where like they totally remove the luck factor out of the game. Higgins, that's John Higgins, right? I think that's his name. And I like this statement, Tim Crumley. She does not quite understand we need low skill levels players, so she does not have to be that great. And that's the number one contributing factor that I have to convince people to play APA for me, because like they already know like how good I am, and they're like, well, I'm not good enough to play for them. Like, and I have to explain to them, you don't have to be. Like, you're going to come into the APA, even if you don't even know how to hold a darn cue. Like, I'm going to teach you how to hold the cue. I'm going to teach you how to shoot and stuff. So, like, you'll be a very low skill level player. You'll play up against other low skill level players. Probably at very random occasions, you'll probably have to be sacrificed to a higher skill level player for strategic purposes. But you're gonna learn. You're gonna grow in the game. Do I think the weather affects the rolls of the balls? Not entirely sure. I mean, my pool table's in my garage, and I do have a mini split, which allows me to control the heat and cooling in my garage. But most of the times, it's not even on. I do know like humidity affects it'll affect like the rails, and if there's any if the humidity is bad enough to where there's actually like condensation buildup on the felt, that'll obviously have some sort of an effect. Yeah, humidity is one of the biggest like environmental factors that you can have on a pool table. It really does have an effect on the rails. The rolls of the balls, like the balls themselves, aren't going to be affected unless there's like chips on the balls. And then you know, if there's any types of condensation like spills or anything that's on the felt or whatever, then that's obviously what's going to affect. And I recently learned about how like some people like to use cleaning solutions on their felt, where like they take like a wet rag of like felt cleaning solution to rub their felt down. And there was one caveat to that, and that is if there's any chalk under the felt. Apparently you need to like, you know, vacuum your felt before you use the cleaning solution, because if you use the cleaning solution on your felt and there's chalk underneath the felt, you're eventually going to turn that chalk into like clay or like smudge or something, and then you're really going to start seeing some off-roll effects because you basically have another hardened layer that's underneath your felt. Oh, okay, Tim. So the she that you were referring to was your daughters. Well, then just like show them this live stream where, you know, I'll also encourage them to play. Like if they have the interest to play the game that their father loves to play, then, you know, just let them hear me say, like, you know, go do it. Because, like, you know, if I'm ever fortunate enough to have children in my life, I hope this is something that they would pick up off of me. Because then I would clearly teach them the same way I teach everybody else. What is the best solution you have found to cleaning your balls? Well, without making that sound as provocative as I could, let me try to bring this into the view of the camera. I do have a ball cleaner. So let me see if I can bring it into the view. Actually, I probably could have just turned on my GoPro. That probably would have made it easier and showed it to y'all. Matter of fact, I think that's what I am going to do. I think that'll just make it easier instead of me moving the darn thing. Let me just turn on my GoPro. So, let's see here. I turn that on. Wait for my phone to pick it up. Turn on the preview. Let's see, you're currently watching that, so we're going to just switch to where this will be on, and then this will be off. Turn off. Join. Yes, it is the diamond ball washer. The ball washer. So I'm just waiting for my GoPro view to turn on. Okay, so let's do this. So hopefully y'all can see it. And here it is. So it can hold all 16 balls, all 15 balls plus the cue ball. You turn it on by turning this dial here for how long that you want. And I have, here's my cue lathe. But I use the Aramith ball cleaner. Just put a little dab on each of them. I can actually do a small demonstration here. So don't put this on the table. So pay no attention to the GoPro right now. I'm going to get the other balls and put them in there. And while they're cleaning, I'll talk to everybody. But just give you a small demonstration of how this works. Okay, so let's try this again. So take the GoPro. So hopefully y'all can still see everything. So hopefully y'all can see this, but I just put just a small little dab, or I try to. Oh, it's clogged. Hold on a second. Sorry. Pay no attention to the GoPro view again. You can just stare at a bottle. Let's see here. Let's try this. Oh, that was really caked on there. All right, hopefully that should work. All right, let's try this again. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. There we go. So I can't really see what y'all see, so I'm hoping that I'm holding the camera or the GoPro the way I need to. So I just put little droplets on each ball. Okay, and this is the fun part, because like I always get scared when I turn this thing on, because I'm like, how are the balls like staying in there? Because I would think like the balls would just like fling themselves out, but that's what it looks like while they're getting cleaned. And you can see how much, what is it, centrifugal force that thing is turning, because it's like rocking the whole thing back and forth. So there you go. There's the diamond ball washer. So let's turn that off, turn that back on, switch to this, and transition. There we go. And then turn the GoPro off. I don't think there's really anything wrong with like Windex and a paper towel. It's just that you have to do it manually, right? And that can take a while. Same thing with using the Aramith ball cleaner and like using a microfiber towel and just like cleaning them one at a time. Here, I obviously paid for the convenience, right? Because that 2-tray diamond ball washer is not cheap. I think it's like $600 or $700. But I mean, I'm paying for the convenience of the balls just cleaning themselves right now while I still get to chat with everybody. Oh, so Camden, if you're looking for like another alternative other than something crazy expensive like the diamond ball washer, if you just buy the cleaning solution and get yourself like a microfiber towel, then you just have to just do each ball one at a time. Like I think that would be like the cheapest solution that I could think of. Hey, Chuck from Backyard Billiards has dropped in. How's it going, bud? Jared Ginther. So when I'm playing in Pool League, do people recognize me as a YouTuber as well? Some people know that it's like some of my like regular people that know me as a YouTuber now, and then every now and again I'll get some random person that I've never met yet that like is a regular at the pool hall, but like goes there on different days that I'm not there. And when I go in there, they'll come up to me and go, "Are you little Chris?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And so then I get the recognition as a YouTuber as well. Hey Joe, how's it going? Camden, I don't really see any issue with the way you're currently cleaning them. I mean, if it works, it works. Like that's all that really matters. And Tim Crumley, you're right. There's a bunch of do-it-yourself, like take like a where you can build your own pool ball washer. Take like a bucket, with like some sort of buffer, put some carpet around the bucket, and like I think the cheapest one costs like 40 or 50 bucks to make or something if you try to build it yourself. Make a video on the ball washer, Roopster. That'd be a very boring video to watch. It's just watch 16 balls spin in place for like 8 minutes just so I can monetize the video. Yeah, Flavio M and Backyard Billiards, y'all are describing the exact way the do-it-yourself ones are done. Joe, you did some practice during some 8-ball? I did a couple of, I think like 1 or 2 8-ball racks here recently. I've been doing just more talking than anything else for tonight. How many people do I have in here, by the way? 66. Okay, awesome. So Tone Wen, thanks for the compliment on my performance during the tournament. You're wanting to know what software I'm using to broadcast my live feed. This is OBS that I'm using. I'm eventually going to try to get Bang Time to start using this as well, because we are trying to work on getting to where we can have some commentary go while the players are shooting. So that way the viewers can hear the commentary, but the players won't. We can currently do that in the setting that we have, but then we're putting the responsibility on the players to mute the audio, not just their microphone, but mute the audio on their end so they don't hear us. And I would rather remove that responsibility from the players and just put all the responsibility on the streamers. So there's a particular type of setup that I've thought of. I just don't know if it works or not. And Jim and I are actually going to try it sometime to see if we can do commentary and not have the players hear it. And then once we get all the kinks and stuff ironed out, you're probably going to see that in the next tournament. Oh, and yes, and so like what Jim from Bangtime Pool is using to do his stream is a third-party software on the internet called StreamYard, and that integrates into YouTube. So it's kind of like it does a Zoom meeting, or I don't know if you want to call it a Zoom meeting or a Google meeting or something, to where people can call in to this meeting, and then that meeting can be directly streamed into YouTube, because StreamYard has a streaming function inside of it. So that's how he does it there. That's why if you look in the upper right corner of any of the tournaments, you'll see a logo that says like powered by SteamYard or SteamYard or something in the upper right corner. How do you get into the next tournament? You need to contact Jim from Bangtime Pool on his YouTube channel. And I think in the next tournament, I think he's still going to limit it to 16 players. I'm not going to say this is like, don't quote me on what I'm going to say here. But I think it's going to be limited to 16 players. And I'm pretty sure he's not doing like the first come, first serve 16 players. Like he'll get everybody that might be interested, and then it's probably going to be drawing out of a hat. So that way there's this nice, fair, like lottery process of being able to play. But like I said, don't quote me on that. Camden, my ball set is the Cyclops Zeus set, and I'm just going to step away for a second just to put them back onto the table now that they're clean. So I'm not going to change the camera views, so you get to stare at my circuit breaker for a second. Because now my balls are clean. Ah. Tristan, since you're from South Africa, the only skill rating you should be concerned about is the Fargo rating, because Fargo rating is supposed to be global. Chuck and Heather Coling, I don't believe there's a Fargo rating limit, other than, I don't think I don't think like pros are going to be allowed in the tournament. Chuck is a 620. Chuck from Backyard Billiards is a 628. I'm a 614. I think Roopster 760 is in the 600s also. Are they dry? Rick Ward, I'm guessing you're asking. I'm guessing that you're asking if my balls are dry. I would hope so after they just got done getting washed or polished. So since they're clean though, or polished off, you know what? I'm getting a lot better at doing these transitions. So let's do. No, that's not what I want to do. Oh, never mind. I'll just leave it alone. All right, so since these are nice and clean now, all right, let's try a virtual tournament break and run. Let's see if I can nail the break that I was using for the last 2 matches. That's looking pretty good. But I did not satisfy the 3-point rule because the 1 ball did not cross the head string. But, I mean, it satisfies the virtual tournament. And this is a combination I don't mind taking on since the 3 ball is in the jaws of the pocket. So I'll try this with no ball in hand. Got to be careful, though. I don't want... Oh, geez, I almost missed that. I didn't want my 1 ball to drop because I still want to use it to transition to my 2 ball. But I did almost miss that. Okay, let's see if I can get my cue ball to go between the 6 and the 9 ball and come around for the 4. Ooh, almost ran into the 9 ball. All right, do I play a stop shot? No, because that would leave me too thin of a cut shot. I do want to try to draw back, but I don't want to get hooked by the 8 ball. But let's see what happens. There we go. Now this was a very similar shot that I had during the tournament though. Since when I hit this, like I can land right here to be on the 6, but I'm cutting this ball. So the question is do I want to cut this ball, come over here and just like land generically over here, or I have a window that I can land here too, but I obviously don't want to run into the 9 ball, but I don't want to just dribble the cue ball over here and get stuck somewhere over here either. So the power of the hit starts to become questionable. Unless, of course, I overcut the ball and just missed the shot. And had I made it, I would have been okay. Woo, gee whiz. I'm going to try to set up for the 9 ball to go in the same pocket as this 8 ball. So I don't remember exactly when I missed, but I think I scored a, what did I score, a 5 on that rack, I think. Oh, you're rated Chuck and Heather, you're rated a 421. That's, I mean, I don't consider that, like, you know, it's really difficult to say, like, what, you know, what's supposed to be bad, what's supposed to be good. And I really don't like making those comparisons, because to me, that's no different than when I read a comment on any of my YouTube videos about how much of a terrible player I am because I'm not a Shane Van Boning or I'm not a Skylar Woodward or anything like that. Like, there should be this complete understanding that there's just a hierarchy of skill levels, to where, like, you know, there are players that are down here, there are players that are up here, and then there are the elite players. And there are reasons why people are where they are at, and the only way to climb is obviously practicing. But it's not, I've said this before, to where it's not just practicing, it's really going into the details and being very meticulous on what you're doing and why errors are occurring, identifying what the errors are and that are in your game, like why are you missing, et cetera, and without just saying, oh, I overcut the ball or I undercut the ball. Like, you really have to dive deep into your game and really try to understand where your flaws are at and what are causing the flaws. That could be both physical and mental. Because if you're not all clear up here, it's going to show on the table as well. So, because I've had a question before where someone has asked me, does time and experience matter to being a great pool player? And the short answer is no, it's not. To me, it's the quality of practice with the quality of play and the level of competition. And the best example I know for that is you take a player like myself. I've been playing for 23 years. You take a player like Fedor Gorst, who's only like in his 20s, I think he's in his early 20s. So clearly he hasn't been playing longer than me, but he would completely run me over in a match because of the quality of his practice, the quality of his training, and the quality and the level of competition that he engages in has allowed his game to just excel, which includes his ability to learn. Like, his ability to learn and apply what he learns very quickly into his game is what's caused his game to excel. Where for someone like myself, it's taken me 23 years to get as good as I am. People learn at a different rate. It's not like there's anything wrong with that. You know, if I wanted to spend 8 hours a day for the last 20 years learning how to play this game, I probably could be a professional pool player too. But that's not the route that I took in my life. So I would nowhere near say that you being a 421 is like a bad rating or like that you're a bad pool player. You know, you are where you are, and we can identify that. Now, if you were to play up against someone like myself, Chuck, Roopster, maybe even Jim or whatever, then chances are we would come out on top. On paper, we're supposed to come out on top, but that doesn't mean you can't win at any given point in time. I had an exhibition match that's on my YouTube channel where I got to I played my teacher in a race tonight. The guy that basically taught me everything that I know about this game, besides what Demetrius has added into my game. and I managed to destroy him like 9-3 in that particular match. And on paper, if you look at our Fargo ratings, on paper he's better than me because he has a higher Fargo rating. But that just means, like, you know, he's the favorite to win, but that doesn't mean I don't have a chance to win. Oh, Roopster, you just made me hungry. You smell some KFC? Like I said, that nose is going to get you in trouble. Chuck and Heather Coling, I would love to review your game, but at the moment, I'm not taking any submissions. I'm about to I'm about to start working on the next video that I have in line. I have like 6 in line, and these videos are already months behind being reviewed. So I'm not really taking any more submissions. Once I get those videos caught up, I'll do a post like either on my Facebook page or on my YouTube community wall that I'm accepting submissions again, and then more will start coming in. I need to figure out a way to just say, like, you know, if you post your video for me to review, I just need to take like 2 or 3 at a time, because like when I open up for people to submit, like they just start flooding in, and there's no way in the world I can just like take all of them in and then just publish them all back out, because I spend, like, ask anybody that I've done or anybody that's watched them, I spend hours watching over and over and over, looking for things, looking for patterns, looking for bad habits, looking at the way that you're holding the cue, how you're bridging. I try to give everybody a little bit of everything in regards to form, pattern plays, the way they shoot the ball, how hard, soft, everything else. And it takes hours to make those video reviews that I do. But like I said, the moment I get caught up, I'll be happy to take a look at your game. Same thing for you, Horatio. But like I said, at the moment, I'm not. Like, Tristan has already submitted a video to review, and I think he's at the back of the line. And like, it's been months since he did his submission. But I still have to get everybody that's in front of his reviewed before I do his, just to be fair, you know, because I do try to review these in the order in which I receive them in. But I also try not to fall so far behind. On top of, I don't want me releasing videos. It's just, here's a coaching video, here's another coaching video, here's another coaching video. You know, I try to mix stuff in. So since I try to only publish once a week, it's like, here's a coaching video, and then next week will be something else, and then next week will be another coaching video, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a long, drawn-out process on getting all these stuff done. Jared Ginther, you're asking, where does the Fargo rating come from? It is just a skill level that is given to you after you play in so many like sanctioned events that report to Fargo, because it's basically a collections of wins and losses against particular players. So, you know, obviously if you just like get all these wins, like your Fargo rating starts to climb. But then eventually you end up running into players to where like it's almost similar to like APA and BCA, where like your ratings can go so high based on people that you play against within your general community. But then once you start running into true Fargo skill level players and you get beat by them, then your Fargo rating starts to fall and starts to settle and stuff. And then it's supposed to be global across the world, to where like I'm a 600 here, so if I go to Europe and play 600 Fargo ratings there, it should be a fair match according to Fargo. I've never traveled to Europe and played a 600 Fargo rating player, so I can't say for sure that like that's how it works. But that's the way they advertise it. And what's supposed to happen over time, to my understanding, I don't have a complete understanding, but let's say, for example, with me being a 614, let's say, for example, I get beat by a 700 Fargo rated player. So my Fargo rating goes down a little bit, theirs goes up. But then, let's say a 650 Fargo rated player that I've beaten before in my track record, that I've beaten before, beats the 700 Fargo rated player. So now the 650 goes up, 700 Fargo rating goes down. Well, since they currently have in the system that I've also beaten that 650 Fargo rating, that I probably have a, even though I lost the last time I played against that person, I actually do have a good chance at beating that person. So that's supposed to, as far as I know, affect my Fargo rating. So since that 650 goes up from their victory, my Fargo rating will also go up because of their victory and them having a loss to me. Tristan, yeah, I'll do that. I'll make sure to try to assess what I think your APA skill level is. I'm not going to be able to do your Fargo rating because I don't understand everything that goes into the Fargo rating other than its win-loss ratio. How would a person rate themselves on APA standards? Jaron Newmid asked. So simply put, it's almost kind of like the same thing. It's going to be win-loss ratios against other APA skill level players. How many times did it take you to shoot to be able to win a rack? How many racks did you win versus how many racks that you lost, on top of how many games that you won, how many games that you lost? How many defensive shots did you play during a match? Because these are all the stats that are used to calculate your APA skill level. There's a little bit more that goes into that, but I'm not gonna get into all that kind of stuff because there's some history and stuff, and but that's pretty much the long and short of it. Win-loss ratio against who are you playing. So if you have 100% win rate against a bunch of 4s, then chances are you're going to get moved up to a 5, kind of thing. Also depending upon how many times you play. So for example, let's start at skill level 3. If you're beating a bunch of skill level 3s and it's taking you 10 plus innings per game to finish, then chances are you might stay as a skill level 3. Now, I think in the long haul, if you keep winning, at some point in time, that's going to tip you over and you will be moved up to a skill level 4 because I can't seem to think that no matter what mathematical formula the APA system is using, if a player is constantly winning, don't care how many innings it takes for them to win, but if they're constantly winning, at some point in time, they're going to move their skill level up. Horatio, the question that I got about the boot camp was what was the most valuable thing that I learned versus, how did I like the 3-day boot camp? I really, really liked it. We trained for in 3 days, I think we must have played close to 30 or 40 hours of pool. So it's intense of practice and play, and it was a lot of fun to be able to bounce ideas off of Demetrius on top of receiving his knowledge and stuff. And so and like I said, there was a podcast that I posted on my community wall where both Nate and Demetrius mentioned me a lot, and Demetrius talks a whole lot about the way I break, and he really likes the way that I break. For both 9-ball, 10-ball, et cetera, and I was actually able to drop some knowledge on him that hopefully is going to help him improve his breaks, because the Cue It Up podcast is gearing up for their next VG10 2.0 tournament. I do believe I advertised that on my community wall, and it's also on my my Facebook page. So the Lucasi, or did I say Lucasi? I am so sorry. I meant the Jacoby. This Jacoby, make sure I'm on the right view. Yes, this Jacoby I won in VG 1.0 on a raffle, and I also won 2 jump cues, a case, and a bunch of different stuff that I had made donations to be entered into their raffles. And with the VG10 2.0 coming out, you can rest assured they're going to be raffling off a bunch of cool stuff as well. So if you're not subscribed to the Queue It Up Podcast YouTube channel or to the Queue It Up Podcast Facebook page, be sure to go give them a subscription or follow or whatever, and stay tuned for that event, because it starts I think it starts next week. And like every day of the tournament is going to be a raffle. Jared Ginther, as far as I know, we don't do MVPs. We do have a tier list of the tier list. I think for like 8-ball runs for like the top tier list between skill level 2 and skill level 3. Then the mid tier list between skill level 4 and skill level 5, and then the top tier list between skill level 6 and skill level 7. How many times have I been on the top of the tier list? I'm generally like first, second, or third. Most of the time. I've been first before, usually because there's only like 1 or 2 players in my area that usually give me like solid competition. I actually have an APA match where I do play against someone of my skill level that I'll eventually publish here soon. Won't spoil who won or who lost on that one, but you can definitely see the different level of play between me and that other player, because I've had videos where I say I'm playing up against a skill level 7, but because of the way I beat them, a lot of people will be like, well, there's no way that person's a 7. Well, it's like, well then, what do you want me to say? Like on paper it says they're a 7, so that's that. Okay, things looked slowed down again, and this time we will switch to 10-ball. And I tell you what, if I had a 9-foot table, because the VG10 tournament does have specifics, like you have to have the same size table with at least a certain size pockets as well. Like everybody has to play under the same conditions for a professional event like that. They've already been announcing who like the players are, because they have a bunch of players that played in the last one and a couple of new ones that I haven't even seen before. So like I'm really excited to see this next event, and I might get lucky enough to get to do some commentary on some of the matches, because I did that last time too. Four ball in the side pocket. Cue ball gets bumped around. I have a positional shot on the 1 ball, but that's because the cue ball got bumped around. But it is a long stretch, so I am going to take ball in hand though. All right, so the question is going to be, how do I get to the 3 ball and where do I play it? Because it looks like the ideal spot is going to be the 3 in the side pocket. That'll allow me to go to the side rail, maybe get position on the 5. I can play the 3 over here, but that means I have to get underneath here. That's going to be a precision shape shot. Yeah, I'm trying to really think how to play from the 2 to the 3. This is what's taking me so long to figure out. So I think I'm gonna try to play the 2 in the side pocket And then come up to the side rail here to get position on the 3. Oh, and if I have too steep of a cut angle, this is going to be completely different. I don't think I got as, yeah, I didn't get as straight as I would like. But now I can try to stun over here with the angle that I have here. So I think I'll try that. Oh, I didn't hit that anywhere near hard enough. Gee whiz. Let's see. Do I back cut this? Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna back cut this into the corner pocket. Never mind. And of course, the only issue with back cutting the ball is I lose complete control of my cue ball. Now, if I were just going to continue play, what do I do from here? All right, so we know this isn't luck. I'm going to bank the 3 ball into the 10. I'm going to see if the 10 will go into the side pocket off of the 6 ball, and then we'll see how the 3 ball gets over towards the other side pocket. Otherwise, if I hit that 10 ball full on the bank shot, like the 10 ball does have a path through here. I mean, if I had to guess like everything worst case scenario that's going to happen, if I get too full of a hit on the 10 ball and I end up clipping the 9, if it clips the 9, that means it's also still going to drift over here, so it might end up falling into the side pocket. But I'm at least going to try to bank the 3 into the 10. Or that, like I said, I'm surprised I actually hit it the way that I did. I called every scenario that could happen. So that was cool. Hey, have a good night, Ron Johnson. Thanks for stopping by. Russian Crush Gaming, what's going on? Yeah, Jared, I think like for our area, I think we get a jacket after like so many years of play. I think I recently heard one of my players saying like they've been in the APA now for almost 20 years, kind of thing. So like I think there's supposed to be like a 20-year anniversary jacket or something. But I can't quote that. Nasty shot. I mean, to me, like that was almost a luck shot, you know. So I have an understanding of what it is I'm going to try to do, and that's why I made sure I laid out all the scenarios that I think that could have happened. Like when I hit that 3 ball off the rail and into the 10, 3 different things could have happened. I could have cut the 10 into the 6 and have it fall into the side pocket. I can hit it full enough to where it did exactly what I did and knocked it into the corner pocket, or I could have hit it too full and saw that it still could have caromed off of the 9 ball and then possibly still fall into the side pocket, maybe still even touching the 6 ball. Like 3 possible scenarios that could have happened, and of course the obvious 4th one, I could have just missed it altogether. So Horatio, the force and power. So the short answer is kind of yes, but it still really depends on the thickness of the hit, because the hit that I had on that shot where I did the stun shot was almost like I'm hitting like almost 3/4 or 7/8 of the ball. Like it's almost a full head-on hit. It's just a slight cut. And so since there's that full of a hit, a lot of momentum is going to get taken off of the cue ball. So therefore, you do have to put some power in to get it to just slide completely across the tangent line. But let's say I was only doing like a half ball hit or maybe a quarter of a ball hit. You could still do a stun shot because the definition of a stun shot is just to get the cue ball to travel across the tangent line, which is a 90-degree angle away from the path that the cue ball or that the object ball is going to be traveling in. In order to make that happen, the cue ball has to slide into the object ball. No backspin and no forward spin. Ooh, I'm 3 hours into the stream, so I guess what? I did say that I was going to do this one more time, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time and then probably call it a night. So if y'all have questions, start queuing them up. Or any more questions that you want me to answer, start queuing them up because I'm going to go ahead and prep for this because I did say I was going to do this at least one more time with the GoPro. And y'all, I did see a comment about tilt it up just a little bit higher, so I'll try that. I honestly don't even know if I adjusted it at all to be a little bit higher. Let's do that. I almost feel like Earl Strickland with all this gear on. I got my headset, I got my GoPro, I got my glove, I got my Apple Watch. Like, I got so much stuff on me. I just need to start wrapping tape around my fingers or something. Rick Ward, yes, this is a GoPro Hero 8. All right, so there's that. So turn that off and turn that on. I should be able to do that. And so here we go. I'll go ahead and try another 10-ball rack. And for those that are just now seeing the GoPro view for the first time, do you know that there is, it sounds like there's a 1-second delay in the video, and that's because my GoPro is currently streaming its feed to my iPhone, and I'm capturing the video off of my iPhone. So like the feed from the GoPro to the stream is not direct. It's going through another device. And so that's why you're going to see a bit of a delay. And the point of having the GoPro view is so you can see where I'm hitting on the cue ball. You can see how I apply backhand English when I hit the cue ball, etc., etc. And that's why I leave the full camera view up as well, so you can see what's happening on the table. All right, so everything's good. And then you get to have a little tour of my garage. And so that giant studio light that you're seeing, I'm hopefully going to replace that with a ring light here soon. Oh, gosh, I hit that so bad. I thought I was actually hitting that straight, but clearly I didn't. Okay, so let's see what we can do to run this out. This is actually really bad transitions, going from the 1 to the 2, back down here for the 3. 3 to the 4 is okay. 4 to the 5 will be tricky. 6 is in the middle of the table. Man. All right, let's see what I can do. Couple of tricky transitions on this one. Get past the 9. Okay. I do have to remember to try to stay down. I don't want like to just like shift up all of a sudden now that I'm wearing the GoPro. So I will try to slow down my movements. Oh, this is horrible. I really wonder what this looks like from a GoPro view. All right, so far so good. See if I can actually run out a 10-ball rack. I haven't done it yet. All right, so it looks like my cue ball will possibly run into the 10 ball, so I'm going to try to land somewhere over here for position on the 6. Oh, I'm going to get hooked. Nope, never mind. I had nowhere near enough spin to do what I wanted. But at least I have a shot, so I can't complain about that. Question is where do I go? Which pocket? Seems like this pocket's probably the better one. So I think that's what I'll try. There we go. Well, I didn't want to overdraw that, but I did. So now my cue ball has to go down table and back up. Whoa. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, there we go. Oh my Lord, I thought I missed it. I was like, let me at least get one. Just one. And I got it. Whew. Okay, let's see here. So now we try to go to here. And then turn this guy off. Oh, okay. All right, what am I coming back to? Because I'm going to end the stream here shortly. Andrew S956, do I always use a closed hand bridge when I break? Yes, because I don't want my, I can break with an open hand bridge, but I never want my cue to leave my hand, my bridge hand, when I break, and that can't happen with a closed hand bridge unless I open my hand up, which I'm not going to do. Ooh, bang time. I love the question that you're asking right now. Do you use English to pocket balls? Meaning, do you use, for example, outside to throw the ball to the pocket? So, last rack against Eric Pool Guy Simpson 29 in last night's tournament. The reason why I didn't run the table out, if you can recall, the 6 ball and the 7 ball were really close to one another, and I actually did not get the cue ball where I want it to be, to where I don't have to worry about hitting the 7 ball first. I actually had to back cut the 6 ball. And even though I knew I could back cut the 6 ball and not hit the 7 ball first, because of the live stream, I actually made sure that I wasn't going to hit the 6 ball where I needed to be. So therefore, I was cutting the 6 ball. Matter of fact, I can recreate the shot. This is pretty much why I didn't run the table out, on top of me missing. So like I pretty much had the 6 and the 7 pretty much like this. I think it was actually something like that. And when I shot my 5 ball, I needed my cue ball to be right here. And then I have no risk of hitting the 7 ball. I can make it clear as day. But I think I had my cue ball land somewhere right around here. And so instead of trying to come over here to perfectly hit the ball, which I can still cleanly do, but I don't want it to be questionable of whether or not I was going to hit the 7 ball for the live stream. So I hit the 6 ball fuller than I normally would if I wanted to just flat out make the ball. And then since I was cutting to the right, I put left spin on the cue ball to further push the 6 ball to the right. And that's why I ended up missing the shot, because it turns out I didn't need as much spin on the cue ball that I had. So to answer your question, yes, I do sometimes. Not all the time, but some of the times I do. Jared Newman, why did different companies all of a sudden start changing the colors of the balls? Product, just to push product. That's all. That's the only real reason I can think of. Let's see, what are we doing here? GoPro action on bank time pool? I think that would be pretty cool to see. Oh, Chris Nash, if my pockets were shimmed, then I would have to be more accurate. There are still certain like down the rail shots that I can't like. If y'all listen to me narrate or when I was shooting, when I would say like I have to punch this ball in, I'm already worried about that the ball might not go in because my pockets will actually reject it. And if they're shimmed, then there's a higher possibility that my pockets will reject punch shots down the rail. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're talking about my last 10 ball shot. Yes, if the pockets were shimmed, then chances are that ball's not falling. Hey Joe, have a good night, bud. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, I already answered that. Andrew S. 956. One more question. So I'm still a beginner and I bought a jump cue. Do you recommend practicing jumping balls or using the rails more? Both. They're both legal things to do inside of the game. You just obviously have to identify one over the other. So, for example, if the imposing ball is like 6 inches in front of the cue ball, chances are I'm probably going to try to jump over it. But if it's 3 inches in front of the cue ball where I have to use a dart style grip to try to jump over it, then chances are I'm probably going to kick. So like it's usually, for me, it's scenario based on whether or not if I'm going to kick a ball in or try to jump a ball in. But you do need to be proficient in both. I would not suggest practicing one more over than the other. They both serve their purpose in this game. Tanmay, you have a snooker tournament in 30 minutes. If there's any motivation that you can give me, I mean, the best one I can always say is just try to play to the best of your ability. Right? If you play to the best of your ability and unfortunately still lose, then that just means that your opponents were better players, and that should be an okay loss for you to be able to take, rather than just shooting crappy and losing. So just do your best and just be happy with the performance that you're going to do. If you already feel like you're outclassed, like that's usually a pretty good example that most non-professional players actually have. If you feel like you're outclassed, then just set yourself like a reasonable goal, especially if you know that you're if you know that your opponent is like so much better than you. You're saying you're playing snooker. So if you know your opponent is so much better, like, you know, what are we talking about? You want to be able to win the frame, which is 147 points. You know, give yourself a reasonable goal, like score 20 points or something, like something that you truly feel, regardless of who your opponent is, that you can actually get. And if you get it, then figure out what the next goal is going to be after that. Don't just sit there and say to yourself, I'm going to win. Because if you lose, then you didn't meet your expectation. Therefore, you're going to be in a sour mood. It's not going to be something that you're going to enjoy, you know, whatever. But try to be reasonable with your goals. And on top of being reasonable, just always try to do your best. And don't second guess yourself too. You know, go with usually what your gut's going to tell you. And you know, I'm always just going to emphasize, you know, just do your best with what you got. So bang time. We all have a shot or shots that we do not want to happen in a match because you are not confident. What is that shot for you? Well, if you, and show it on the table if I have time. That's almost a tough question for me to answer because as y'all saw in the tournament and some of the shots that I have here, I'm not afraid of cut shots, and I'm not afraid of super thin cut shots either, because I actually had one tonight while I was playing, and then I had one in the tournament where I had to back cut the 8-ball into the corner pocket, and I actually overcut the ball, of all things. So is there just a shot that I'm just not confident in doing? I gotta think. I mean, the simplest one that I can think of is kick shots. Like kick shots are my weakness. I don't know. Kick shots are always my weakness, and I'm trying to become better at them. So, and I'm trying to become better at them in multitudes of ways. So, like for example, if I look at this and I'm trying to hit the 6-ball, make sure I'm okay. Yes, I should be. If I'm trying to hit the 6-ball, you know, and I want to do a 1-rail kick, the first thing I'm looking at is, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 6-ball is roughly 5 diamonds away, which tells me 1, 2.5. If I hit somewhere right around here, I should be able to get a hit. So first off, let's see if that's true. Right, and I get a hit. So cool. Right, that's a 1-rail hit. And actually, this is a great result. And this is usually, I would like to know that I get this result, and I don't. At the very least, I knew I was probably going to hit it, but I didn't know this was the result that I was going to get. So I'm trying to get pretty precise with my kick shots, because now all my opponent has is a 1-rail bank shot, or they can possibly safe me again and stick me back behind the 7-ball, which would probably look something like this, if I can do it. Close. But let's take the same shot, or roughly the same shot. And let's just say the 2.5 diamond, the 2.5 diamond is not there. And now we have to look at the 2-rail kick shot. Well, I think from here, I know that if I go like somewhere towards this diamond here, that I'll come towards the pocket, but I need to come a diamond long. So like at the very least, I'm going to try to shoot right here. And this is, again, this is just to get a hit. I got a hit. Oh, look at that! Like, and I got lucky with position of all things. Like, but the point that I'm trying to make with all of that is, these are things that I currently don't have like full knowledge of and understanding of what's going to happen. I have basic stuff of, if I hit here, I'm pretty sure, I'm saying to myself, like, I'm pretty sure that my cue ball is going to head off in this direction, and I might get lucky for a hit or whatever, and I really want to take the word lucky out of my statement. So like that's the only way I know how to like answer that, as far as like shots that we don't have, like shots that we don't want to do, because I'm not afraid to do anything on the table, even if I have to masse a ball. Like I'm not afraid to try to masse the ball. I've massed some shots in before at a BCA state tournament because it was all that I had. And like some of the goofy shots that I've demonstrated tonight, like that carom 410 bank cross side pocket, I've done that in like major tournaments as well, because when there's nothing on the table and I'm just going for the glory, like I'll pull all of that out and just try to do something with the general knowledge of how I know the balls will react. But I'm gonna have to think about your question a little bit more, Jim. And like that's the simplest way I can explain it is kick shots. So there's not like a specific shot that I can put together and be like, I don't want to see this shot ever again, kind of thing, because like I'll just miss it all day long. So I at least hope that answers your question, though. For me, like my weakest area is my kick shots. Okay, so almost 3 hours and 30 minutes. I think I'm pretty much going to call it a night. Oh, and it is midnight, so it's now officially Sunday. So I hope everybody was able to enjoy themselves, and I'm hoping when I go back and watch the replay that the GoPro view served its purpose. I still saw some comments that I have to tilt it up a little bit higher, and I mean, look, I honestly don't think that I honestly don't think that I can. Like, I don't have any more room. Like, you see that gap there, but then there's the padding, the strap itself that I think stands in the way. I don't think I can have it stand up any higher than I actually have it. So, like, I don't know, but I'll have to see what it looks like, because I did have it zoomed in. As well, because if I have it completely zoomed out, like you can see my arm, you can see my watch, and I had it zoomed. I hopefully had it zoomed in to where you should see like maybe this much of my hand, and then you see the cue, and then you see the ball. So, but I hope it served its purpose, and then I can still do it again. Will I be going live or? I'm guessing that's for me. I don't know. Did anybody else say that they're going live? But when's the next time I'm going to go live? I don't have schedules for these live streams. This is kind of one of these things to where it's like, if I don't feel like working on a YouTube video, like I could have been working on my next coaching review video, but instead of doing that, I decided to do a live stream. So tomorrow, I'm probably going to work on the next pool coaching video, so that way I can try to release it. I'm not saying that I'll release it by tomorrow, but I'll be working on it. And then kind of go from there. But it just really depends on when the next time I'm going to go live. That's why you see me do these schedules. I at least schedule them out hours in advance, so people know that by the end of the evening I'm gonna go live, and we're either gonna play some pool, or we're gonna talk, or or do whatever. I'll just do something silly. There was one night where like everybody was asking me like, play left-handed, or play with your jump cue, or play without having the play just by holding the cue and not using a bridge and holding it in the air. And they're like, I'll just do a bunch of silly requests that everybody asks me to do. So it just depends. At some point in time, I figured some of these live streams are going to get stale with just me playing, so I need to get some buddies over here, and maybe I can live stream like some exhibition matches. Like, what do y'all think of that? That might be fun. That might be fun to watch. And it doesn't even have to be me. I can just get 2 friends to come over here and have them play each other, and I'll spectate and kind of commentate in the background or something. I could do something like that. That would be a lot of fun. But now I'm just rambling. So, but I don't know how many people I have in here. How many of y'all survived this long? 16 or no, 40. I dropped down to 40 people. So for the 40 some odd people that have stayed in here, thank you so much for being here with me. And of course, anybody that watches the recast, for those that did stop by and watch for as long as you did, thank you for stopping by into the live stream. I hope that you were able to enjoy everything. And then with some of the stuff that I was at least able to teach, that's been great and wonderful. Roopster, I did not forget about your super chat. That was completely awesome of you. I really, really do appreciate it. So all I can hope for is that the things that I do here with my live streams and the things that I do here with my YouTube channel, of course, allow you guys to be able to improve your games. And from all the feedback that I'm getting, that's exactly what it's doing. So I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you again, everybody, for stopping by tonight. And until next time, take care.